Afternoon, guys. Happy Saturday to you all. Hyperbeam, iSavior, and Brian EverGrow. Good to see you guys. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. See Miko just joined in. Hope you're having a great day. Good weekend. I was just in Discord a little bit ago and I saw that the Shy William Blake is moving today, so he's going to try and catch the replay. And I hope the rest of his move goes really, really well. Moving is not always the best thing, but you know what? Get it done. Get it over with, right? AGC Orca, good to see you. Herson, I see Jake is here. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. I'll give it one more minute and then we'll get rolling right into the space. And I see Montana Mindset. Good to see you, man. Hope you're having a great day too. You're more than welcome to come up, ask questions, chime in on the conversation. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. Hoping to see Cody here today. I know he's always busy on the weekends, but hopefully he'll drop in. I also see Rob. Good to see you, man. Hope you're having a great weekend as well. It's right on 2 o'clock, so let's get rolling. And Alaska Moose Dog, good to see you too. So yeah, if you're this is space number 40. So man, time flies. It's so amazing that we've done 40 of these since what was it, fall of last year, mid late fall, somewhere right around there. So yeah, I never thought it would be where it is now, but it's pretty amazing, and I'm glad you're with us. So I see Andy Trucks. Good to see you too. Thanks for joining on the space. So yeah, like I said, space number 40. Welcome EGC fam to space number 40. We talk about EverGrow, Lucro, LunaSky NFT Marketplace, Atlas Wallet, and other future utilities, as well as crypto news from the week. And I'd like to say that if you're new to the space, I and the rest of the EGC fam would like to give you a very, very warm welcome. If you are invested in EverGrow and Lucro Token, I think you're now part of the very best community in crypto, and I'm a little biased, of course, but you will find it out pretty quick if you're new that we have some pretty amazing people in EverGrow. And so, yeah, just a warm, warm welcome. And yeah, you'll find all of our, we got people all over the place. We got people on Twitter here to help, Facebook, Discord, Telegram. Yeah, there's a lot of great resources if you've got questions about EverGrow, Lucro, and the utilities. So yeah, we're also supportive here. So Cody, how you doing? Hope you're having a good weekend and a great day. Thanks for dropping in today. Made you co-host in case, and if you can talk, great. If you can't, thanks for just being here. I appreciate it. So yeah, so the nice thing about this, not only can you listen live to this space, but you also can catch the recorded replay here on Twitter. Just check out my profile for that pinned tweet. You can also find the recording on all popular podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many more. And also, you just have to search EverGrow Steve in your favorite podcast streaming platform. I also upload these to YouTube as well, so you can find them pretty much everywhere. Hopefully, you guys like. So yeah, before we get into the news, I just want to give a random shout out to everybody who's listening. I see Rick B is here. Habibi the Pug, Hero, good to see you. And I see Will is here as well. Taxman, and a lot of familiar faces, of course. Thanks for sharing your Saturday with me. I really appreciate it. So, like I do in pretty much every space, I like to cover a little bit of news just to give you kind of a general sense of what's going on there in the market. This was actually an opinion piece from CoinDesk, the author Sandra Reed. Title goes like this: If crypto is the future, advisors need to embrace it now. I think it was a really, really well written article or opinion piece. So it goes on like this. CWP, good to see you too. Hope you're having a great day as well. The article goes like this: It's fair to say sentiment towards crypto among the general public is plummeted over the last year. This may have a secondary effect of pushing financial advisors to shy away from the category and digital assets in general, at least until there's more certainty in the markets and the forces driving them. Looking at the long term, advisors are supposed to do lends itself to a different perspective. Crypto is still a relatively new technology, and with all new technologies, there's an adoption curve. Again, a good way to evaluate this is called Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law states that a network's impact is the square of the number of nodes in the network. For example, if a network has 10 nodes, its inherent value is 100, 10 times 10. If you believe crypto is still early in its evolution, and it most almost certainly is, it has unmatched potential to grow in an exponential manner. An analogy isn't perfect, but one of the toughest times to buy Amazon stock was in the 2000s when it was virtually stagnant. Of course, that also turned out to be a really great time to buy. Without taking a single token or third-party risk, the SEC's intransigence in disallowing a spot BTC ETF and allowing you to keep up in this 24/7 cycle market, what is a regulated option? As a famed value investor, Warren Buffett, who I really admire a lot, once said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful." Now it's one of those periods in preparing for the long term, we need to get out of the day-to-day noise. Will this asset class be higher in, let's say, 5, 10, 15 years and beyond? I believe so, and believe it's responsible to research the asset class and have a portion of a client portfolios allocated to it, just as it was for Amazon in the early 2000s. Crypto and blockchain are important because they offer a new way to manage and secure financial transactions, increase transparency and accountability, and enable innovation in a variety of industries. Debt has been the backbone of the global economy. As debt grows and credit tightens, it challenges all facets of the market. This ultimately devalues fiat currency. While the US dollar remains the world's reserve currency for now, there is no guarantee in that future. The ultimate story is that all fiat currencies depreciate because of our system. As advisors, our job is to maintain purchasing power for our clients. Moving forward, 60/40 portfolios and traditional wealth management strategies may not be enough to do this. This is why we see an allocation to crypto as a responsible decision moving forward so as not to miss an exponential opportunity. Crypto as an asset class is directly tied to global liquidity. This faucet cannot be shut off. As money supply rises over time, we need to prepare to capitalize on that environment. In this new world of work from home, where does commercial real estate fall in? We just hit a first quarter record in office vacancies approaching 13%, which is larger than after any financial crisis in 2008. Commercial real estate loans account for nearly 40% of what's on the bank lending books. This issue, along with the now very important apparent potential for bank run via cell phone, adds a pressure on that system, compounding the challenges to advisors. Crypto and digital asset expands the set of tools to help deal with them. With a system built on debt and big challenges ahead for Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, now is the time to look at additional alternatives. Advisors owe it to their clients to put in the work and navigate the digital asset space so they're better positioned to endure a looming headwind. No single solution is perfect fit, but a combination of these strategies puts people we work for in a better position to be successful for themselves and their families. Couldn't agree more with that opinion piece. Cody, how you doing? Are you able to talk at all?
Hey, Steve. Yes, I am. I'm in the car, but it is not too loud right now. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, awesome. Especially after kind of listening in last night, man. We were talking a little bit about the wallet and stuff like that. So bullish, man. So bullish.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say you are welcome to talk about some of those things today if you like, or we can talk about them, at some point during the spaces.
Sure, sounds good. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'll kind of bring up some stuff. And yeah, it's I was going to mention it a little later, and we'll cover it again. But I couldn't talk unfortunately, so I was just kind of like chatting. But the way you and Rocket were just kind of like, you're kind of like people are asking the question when and all that stuff, and there's investors out there that want to know information. A lot of times they're basing their decisions, short term and long term, on the how things are going with our utilities. And I really, really admired that you guys were, you know what, when it's ready, it's ready. No sooner, no later. Um, it's going to come out and it's going to be ready. And if people want to sell, they can sell by all means. Nobody's stopping them. We don't pull those tricks that other projects do by keeping the money in. And I guess I really admire that because it's so easy to bend to the will of an investor, especially if they're a larger holder. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just the way it has to be, and that's the kind of thing too that has to continually be discussed. I think because especially for folks who are not on the inside, and maybe they're new to investing, they're not savvy investors, so we talk about it a lot, right? That surface level is kind of the phrase I use a lot to describe it. It's like they have a tunnel vision, and that's not necessarily their fault. That's just from their experience and education, let's say in a particular space, this space, for example. So they have a tunnelized vision on um, the project. They're on the outside, they're on the surface level only. A lot of times they don't realize all of the other things that it takes to build a company, grow a business, all of that stuff that's going on behind the scenes and under that surface level. So I think it's important for anyone that is familiar with those things or just has the insight to be aware of those things to spread that knowledge to the communities. That way,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for even myself, I've got to do a better job of delivering that information because, every week we talk about, more or less like the same things. I mean, obviously I try to mix it up a little bit and just give people a window into what EverGrow is and the ecosystem, the utilities, and I think it's easy to get overwhelmed in the information because there's a lot to cover. But I think it just I got to do a better job of delivering that information so people can maybe zoom out just a little bit and say, "Oh, okay, this is how all the pieces are coming together." You may not see the idiosyncrasies within those decisions and how it all plays together, but at least if you can zoom out and kind of have a good overall view, you realize that there's a lot going on, and it's not just one. We're not a one-trick pony. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. Development, we speak about it all the time, just doesn't happen. There isn't a factory of robots where you press a button that turns them on and they go and go and go until it's done. These are real human beings doing real jobs in the real world, and there are learning curves, there are acclimation periods, there are things like employee retention. These are all parts of any business. It doesn't matter if you're building something in the crypto space or you're starting a brick and mortar store out there in the world or running a restaurant or whatever. All of these factors, I think, are really important to recognize and be aware of. And a lot of times in this space, because it's a very emotional space, there's a lot of passion behind it. Some of those things can be easily overlooked or just not realized. But that's where we come in, right? That's why it's everyone's job to help each other. I've always loved and respected the saying, you don't know what you don't know. So we have to assume positive intent. People are people. We're emotional beings. People are passionate too, and they come in hot and they're win this and they're wondering why that and not this. And I think a lot of times the tendency too is to accidentally slip into reacting defensively to that kind of thing. And it doesn't, at the end of the day, help anybody. It doesn't help educate them. It doesn't help de escalate a situation that could be heated, etc. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to us to really help and educate and keep an open mind, assume positive intent, and be patient with people too. Not everybody knows this stuff. I mean, gosh, I think we could all say we learn something new about this, if not multiple things, every single day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think too is like the team in terms of numbers has grown over, well, with everything in the market's kind of going down, and value is coming down and overall kind of in the overall market. But yet with us, we're still moving forward, we're still making utilities, still investing in the future. And I think that says something, whereas a lot of projects are kind of pulling back and saying, well, we can't spend this money. We're on the verge of, kind of a point of no return. And I really, with Sam, he made it pretty clear last year that he was going to take a very conservative approach to how the project is using its money, and I think that really paid dividends for the entire project. So with and then being that, like I said, we're growing, there's more people being added on and all that stuff, and I imagine there's something to be said for when you start to hire people from outside your individual circle, right? Because I don't necessarily have the talent for certain things, but certain people do. So when you start to hire on consultants, devs, it's a whole different challenge because now they're not loyal to you like 100% as a project because they're managing many projects. So what they say they can do and what they can actually do might be a little different. I don't know if you can speak to that.
Yeah, I'd love to speak to that because it's such a great point, actually. And we even talked about this a little bit last night. I think, right? It was the whole human concept or human aspect to it, human element. We'll put it that way, because, like you said, I mean, these are people that didn't start the project. So, for example, because we've joked around before, it's like, well, when the project started, it had developers started the project and seen it through. Would it be any differently? It's kind of one of those questions. Like, you'll never really know. Could be different. Could be better. Could be worse. Could be the same. Who knows? But yeah, when you hire outside, companies, development companies, marketing companies, whatever the case may be, consultants, like you said, people have to understand that they have their own businesses. Yes, they will make a contract and agreement, and that's what you do. You go into an agreement with them, a signed contract. Money's involved, time frames are involved, stipulations and penalties are involved when milestones aren't met, etc. However you want to build your contract. So at the end of the day, though, they're human beings. They're not perfect. They're not robots. Developers may be great at, let's say, a full stack guy, right, or woman. They, will be fantastic at being a full stack developer, but that doesn't mean that they're fantastic and experienced in all aspects of it. They may have spent their entire career up to this point really only developing in a certain area. And then you come over to something like crypto and you're building like an NFT marketplace, or you're learning Solidity to write contracts and stuff. It's a totally different world. You could be a very tenured full stack developer or a front or back end exclusively, and it's like that's obviously going to get you ahead of someone who's not, but there's still going to be things to learn for them. And we have experienced that firsthand with some companies we've worked with. We've also experienced you sign contracts and maybe they're not always met, or maybe they have problems on their side with employee retention, staffing, workloads. There's just so many factors. And it kind of ties all back into where a lot of people just look at it like you're not doing anything. Like, some people, I think, really believe we're just sitting back here twiddling our thumbs sometimes. And it's like, you wish you could open the door and just kind of show them so you didn't have to constantly repeat yourself or you're conversing about it to them. Like, yes, we're working. Yes, things are happening. I promise. We promise, etc. Try to put myself in their shoes, and I understand it gets tiring to hear that kind of thing, but what else can you really say? It's like, look, you got to accept what these people are saying, these people being the project management, us, or you don't. And if you don't, then don't accept it and move on, whatever. You're not going to have a different resolution from continuing to hark on it. One last point I'll make to this, too, because I'm kind of side tangent a little bit, but I thought maybe I would just go for it, is as a company, you don't want to end up in a position where you're paying for the sins of your past, right? I've worked for companies before, and they made a lot of mistakes for many, many, many years. And what that ultimately resulted in is getting so deep into that hole, they had to just keep going, where eventually the company was paying for the sins of the past, and that affected the employees, and that also affected the consumer, right? So you have to remember, like, we're a year and a half old. We've made mistakes. We have learned a ton. And the goal for us is to, each day that passes and each new thing that comes up, is for us to do it better and avoid repeating any mistakes, because we don't want to wake up, in a couple years without a project, or even less than that, wake up with still a project, but really paying for sins of the past that we didn't correct the first time we ran into making mistakes. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I was kind of thinking while you were saying that too is I don't know how often this happens, but I sort of get the impression sometimes that, there's a similarity between injury lawyers and devs where they say they can get this done for you and they promise the sun, moon, and stars until they can't. And you know what I mean? So I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't want to paint them all in the same way,
That's
but
funny, though. I like it. Well, think about it too like this. As a developer, right? I don't think developers are BSing people. I don't. I know lots of developers on a personal level who are friends of mine for 20 and 30 years. But I will tell you this, just like in any profession, there's a fairly specific personality type that really kind of fits into that type of profession. I'm not saying that all developers have the same personality, but what I am saying is, from my experience, A lot of the ones I know, they're very similar types of people. They have similar types of personality traits, you know. So then when it comes to work, right? Just like let's say a contractor or a painter, hey, I have this job I'm looking to get done. I want to hire you. Can you do it? Hey, let me take a look at it. Okay, cool. Yep, we can totally do it. I mean, like, why wouldn't you promise a client you could do something? You want to get the gig over someone else, right? It's a bidding war out there all the time, right? So I get it. And I don't think that they're just accepting jobs just to accept them. And I don't think they're BSing clients. I'm sure some do, but I haven't personally experienced that. At least I've never felt that, right?
Well,
Through,
and it's not like building a house where you say, okay, here's the plans. Can you do this?
yeah,
And you've got,
right.
okay, well, I know where I'm building. I know what the soil's like. I know what the concrete's going to cost me. I know what the wood's going to cost me. All the building materials. Yeah, I can do it for that price. Sure. It's not the same way because you're kind of going into an unknown. You're expecting them to deliver your vision.
Yeah, this
And
is a great point because there's a lot of ambiguity to deal with. You know, people think that in development it's just so tangible and so finite. Well, it's fairly tentative. You know, it's like there is a lot of ambiguity that's going to come up. And I love the way you just put it. You said we're really trying to get someone else to build your vision. That is, it sounds easy. It is much harder than it sounds. Trying to tell someone your vision, get them to execute it just like it's being envisioned. You know, so
and which really impresses me about the wallet because it is exactly what I think a wallet should look like. It's simple, intuitive, easy to use. Um, so, I mean, you wouldn't think, okay, well, it's just a wallet, right? How hard could it be? There's a lot of little idiosyncrasies that I take for granted within a wallet that I expect it to do, but I'm always left with kind of that, well, it's the only thing I've got right now, so I guess I just got to work around it. I feel like you don't have to work around this wallet.
yeah, and I was so excited to see that you were in the tester group. I was very excited for you because now you get to have that inside look beyond what you knew before, and you're starting to see things, I imagine, and understand things in a different way with how this whole process works. Right? It's like,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
it's
I guess
in there.
I go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you cut out there for a second. I think it was a little intimidating. I'll admit, just because I feel like the rest of the group that are beta testing have far better understanding of the ins and out of testing than I do. So I'm kind of coming from at it from I've never tested anything like this before, but I feel like it gives me a bit of an advantage because for me it has to make sense, right? If I do this, this should happen. And so far, I'm seeing everything that it should be. I'm not really surprised by anything going, oh my God, this doesn't work. Because for the most part, everything is right there. It's functional. And um, yeah, nothing really intimidates me about the app at all. What gets me though is how can I deliver value to the team in testing this? So I ask a lot of questions. Hey, what do you want me to do? Give me a specific role. You want me to swap some BUSD for BTC? Okay, I'll do that right now. And here it is, right? So
Yeah, and it's a great point. You know, not every number one dev team operates the same way, right? Some people learned, let's say, for example, when you're tying in things like project management to it, some people learned um, agile methodology, right? And others learn Sigma Green Belt, right, for project management stuff. So not every developer team is going to test the same way or approach those kind of things in a management sense the same way, and that's cool. You're going to find those differences too. I certainly have seen several do it in different ways. You know, I have a lot of friends who grew up learning the agile methodology method, and then others who are Sigma Green Belt and beyond certified, and that's how those projects get managed. So, you know, like the way that you guys are doing the Atlas wallet testing, it's great, you know, and that's the kind of testing that specific type of application I think is best with, is best for the way y'all are doing it. It's a little different with how we're doing Luna, which you kind of heard last night, right? Because that's just the way that it needs to be with the devs we're working with over there. So, yeah, pretty cool.
it is very, very cool. And I have to tell you guys that so there's daily meetings and I'm looking at spreadsheets and looking at the amount of work that's going into this. people are experimenting and just trying different avenues to do this. And does the wallet deliver in terms of cost as to the consumer? Like when you're swapping this, does it work the same way in terms of the same price as other swaps? And the organization is it's a little daunting. When I first looked at it, I was like, wow, like there's a lot of work that goes in. You guys selected a beta testing team. Like I said, I feel like the kind of like I'm just kind of being pulled along here, but I'll help where I can for sure. But really super impressed with how everything is going, and yeah, everybody seems to be taking it super seriously, and I think it's just a testament to the team. It's really amazing work.
100%. Yeah. And again, the wallet, testing the wallet is very different than testing LunaSky. Testing the wallet requires more people, a lot more time. Like testing with LunaSky does require a lot of time testing, but you recall last night when I was talking about this, or Rocket and I were, and we were talking about how, well, right now, the QA aspect of it is just myself and Rocket with the developers. We go through Linear with them, which is kind of, and I'll reference this again to everyone in the audience. It's kind of like GitHub, if you're familiar with that. We get to see in real time what they're doing, when they're doing, who's assigned to it. We populate an issue. It goes into a specific queue in Linear. Again, similar to something like GitHub, and we get to see who's doing what. And that's great because we get to monitor track in real time. Once the QA is at a point where we feel that it's ready for the actual bug bash, we'll be doing a bug bash. And that will really only be 1 or 2 sessions. We won't need weeks of doing this like you will with something like a wallet. The wallet, it's a totally different world. It needs to be tested with lots of different people because there's hundreds of different little things going on there. But QA is pretty much almost done. We're just tying up some loose ends. We'll open up for a small bug bash, which literally means, and this is really cool, and I think people would like to know about this, bug bash will be a very small group of people. Rocket and I will put some of these people into groups together. Let's say if there's 10 people, there may be 5 groups of 2. Each one of them goes into their own little breakout room. And we all are doing a bug bash set with specific tasks, like group 1 is to do this and this and report to the master doc at the same time. There was live on those reports in real time. So those types of bug bashes in some software development will have a couple of sessions max because and it's right before launch. So yeah. So I thought that, it's okay to share that. So I think that'd be interesting for people to hear.
So exciting.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to be reaching out to people, or are you going to be setting up a, hey, if you would like to do this, reach out to me or something like that?
Yeah. Good question. Trying to think how I can. I have an answer for this. Of course, we're already doing it. I'm just trying to think how maybe I should word it. Yeah. Essentially, okay. So here's what we do. Right now, it'll just be internal. There may be some external folks. It depends what we need, right? So right now, for example, in this particular scenario, I have a questionnaire put together. The questionnaire is designed for Rocket and myself to be able to look at what types of devices, what type of experience, et cetera, people have with NFTs, right? I'll give you some examples of the questionnaire. It's like, what kind of mobile device do you have? Android or iOS? Have you used the beta? Have you used any other NFT platforms? What tokens do you own or have you owned? Do you have experience with things outside of BNB? Things like that, because that helps us to be able to put groups together, because we want the groups to be people who have absolutely zero experience in any of it, people who maybe come from the ETH side that are very experienced in OpenSea, people who have used the beta and only the beta, but are been doing it for a while. So people who are predominantly use Windows versus Mac to do all their NFTing, right? Is that a word? NFTing? Well, it is now. People who exclusively use mobile to access NFT marketplaces, create or buy, right? So yeah, it's a questionnaire that helps us put together, just kind of proactively, we've already done that. That puts together some folks that we can put in a group together, and then when it's bug bash time, we say, okay, cool. So like you two are all in the group. Here's your task list, and here's the master doc. The devs are waiting and watching it for it to update. Each session would be like a couple hours bug bash session.
I think I lost you there after the bug bash session you cut out. But it gives you people an idea of kind of the progression of things and how this is all
How
gonna.
about now? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, much better. There we go.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So it's just like it sounds, bug bash. You go in, it's like a quick couple hour sessions where you're just bashing the stuff out. And they're being addressed in real time right there by a handful of developers. Rocket and myself would bounce around to the different rooms to help people troubleshoot, It's kind of like help desk, basically, is what we do. So that is coming up because once that happens, like I said, that means it's right there and ready to launch. There'll be probably 2 sessions that are 2 hours long of a bug bash, and that will be all it needs. That's why this whole QA process right now is so important. A lot of people don't know that's what's going on. Like Rocket and I are every single day, all day, doing this QA thing with these devs, and we have a follow up meeting with them every day now, and we have for a meeting a little over a week. So if that doesn't tell you something, also wink, wink. I
Yeah,
do want to say this
absolutely.
really quick about
And
some of the leaks.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention this too, real quick. Some of those leaks, everybody. I mean, look, those leaks aren't 100%, right? So we leaked those so you could see where we're at. We felt like it was fine. We're finally in a position where we can show you. But some of those things are still being tweaked. So if you see like a little anomaly in there or something, yeah, I mean, feel free to shoot a message or comment. Like, we're already aware of it and it's already fixed. But yeah, don't be afraid to drop a message or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that they're not. Some of them may not be 100% how they end up when this thing comes out, but they are at the point where we can show you. So we've got more too. We've got a couple
I think
today.
I think it's important for everybody listening to understand that the leaks that you're seeing are selected for a very specific purpose. This isn't just a random screenshot. Um, so just be aware that this was well thought out, and that's all I can say about that.
I'll back that up. He's right. He's heard us talk about this in depth beyond what he so gracefully said there. But yeah, they're strategically chosen. They're chosen for several different reasons, and they're not just random screenshots. There are reasons behind some of those things we leak. It's not to tease people. It's not to do any of that. It's we leak them when they're ready to be leaked and not a moment before because we don't want to leak something that's garbage looking. Why? Well, we've done it before and look what happened. It was not good. And that was our bad. I'm trying to learn from that. But there's a strategy behind the images that we do leak. 100%. Multiple
Yeah,
strategies.
exactly. Well, we'll switch gears if it's cool with you, Cody. And yeah, just for people who I see some new people in the space, I'd like to just kind of just recap why the EverGrow ecosystem, right? We obviously talk about individual, but I want people to grasp it and be able to visualize in their mind how this all plays together. And this is part of what we were talking about earlier, is educating people, just kind of like breaking it down, simplifying it, right? And with EverGrow, I mean, obviously we're a cryptocurrency project. It's a token, and that the value of any token or coin is really determined by a lot of things, right? I mean, we talk about circulating supply all the time, right? The total amount of tokens or coin that are available for purchase, right? They're in circulation. The amount dictates, unfortunately, price. So more tokens you have, the potential, I should say. It's not like you have more, the price can't go up. It can. It's just sometimes it can make it harder, right? So things like availability. So how ubiquitous a token is it available on one exchange? Is it on one swap? Things like that can be challenges, right? The more you open it up to other DeFi, like say Uniswap, PancakeSwap, stuff like that, the more you can make it available, the more likely an investor will see it. And that's really important. I want you to remember that going further a little bit. Demand, obviously, if there's some substantial hype around a project, we've all seen this with meme tokens, right? It can attract a lot of investors. Community, which is everything that EverGrow is essentially a large community, means that those community members are telling their friends and their family about the investment, people they work with, especially when the investment's doing well. Utility. So when a crypto token serves a particular need or purpose, it can drive investors to that project because it fulfills a specific function. If that token project fills a niche market, it can be perceived as more valuable. And then unique attributes is another thing, right? When a token has a very specific use case, especially when it's a novel idea or concept, it can drive new investors to the project. This is why we see meme tokens can really reach high values so quickly because they're trendy, right? So there are many other factors that really can affect the value of a particular project, but those are just a kind of a few. But how does this all relate to EverGrow is probably the biggest reason why I see EverGrow having enormous value as a buy and hold token. So EverGrow is and was designed to be the token you buy and hold because profits from the utilities, everyone we've talked about so far, LunaSky, Atlas Wallet, etc., the profits go back to buying back EverGrow token and then sending them to that burn wallet. This reduces the total supply of EverGrow token, which can raise the price since there's less tokens in circulation. This also has the effect of increasing the share of rewards to all holders. The more you hold, the more of the share you will receive. So with EverGrow becoming incorporated directly in the Atlas wallet, as soon as users download it, EGC will be populated right there with Lucro right on the main page. So the people who are opening up this wallet for the first time, they may not even really understand or know of EverGrow and Lucro, but they're going to be introduced very quickly. So that's something to keep really in mind. So this brings awareness to the project and being on the main page, except like it says, it makes it, and also having direct buy. Direct buy is a huge obstacle that was just solved by doing direct buy. Now you can buy EverGrow with just without having to do swaps. So a lot of people, that's a big obstacle. I know when I first started, I didn't understand swaps, and that was something that I didn't get. And luckily, I put the time and effort into understanding it. Some people just give up. They're like, I can't do this. I don't know what's involved. I don't understand slippage, all that stuff, right? So that you just removed a barrier to entry right there. And as utilities get released, the team has said they will ramp up marketing. So keep in mind that with marketing being, as Sam said, a 1 out of 10 right now, we have, hundreds of thousands. I don't know what's the number, Cody. Do you know for the marketing budget? I thought it was like 2 million. Am I mistaken? I couldn't remember. Maybe you can't talk. But I thought it was, and then if somebody knows, please let me know. I thought it was around 2 million that they've had in the marketing budget. So with that, there's a lot of room to, I think he's dropping out and dropping back in. There's a lot of room for marketing, right? So in the coming kind of weeks to months, let me make Cody a co-host here. In the coming weeks to months, we're going to see at least half a dozen utilities being released, including, well, like we talked about, LunaSky NFT Marketplace, an entirely new, unique marketplace that not only brings investors this beautiful UI that we've seen little sneak peeks of, but a whole new level of functionality that will not only attract new investors, but it will drive potentially new partnerships. We'll leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything more. Atlas Wallet. So an entirely new DeFi wallet that's not only making purchasing crypto easy, but integrates on and cross-chain swaps built right into the wallet. I've done it myself. I've done the easy ones, and I've also done cross-chain. I mean, I just didn't think this could be done so easy. It's really that simple. There's no need to go on any websites, expose yourself and your crypto to potential fraudulent sites and all that stuff. You can do it right from the wallet. So, like I said, I'm currently beta testing, and what I'll tell you right now is I cannot wait to get rid of my MetaMask and Trust Wallet, import those seed phrases, and Atlas Wallet will be my exclusive wallet. That's just my personal feeling. I'm sold on it. You know what I mean? The next is the utilities of Lucro. We've talked about this in the past a lot. So Lucro was designed to be a currency token, a transactional token, because of the low tax, 1%. Of that 1%, 20% is added to liquidity and 80% goes to EverGrow for buyback and burn. So just by using Lucro as a transactional token, you are contributing to the buyback and burn of EverGrow. So that all fits in again to the ecosystem, right? Lucro will be integrated into LunaSky NFT Marketplace, in Atlas Wallet, Abstract VR, Metaverse Gaming, and we know of two games which will integrate Lucro. So we don't know what that will look like just yet. I think Cody said last week, relatively simple. I think, or maybe it was Paul, relatively simple in design, but fun to play, and they will add as a utility. I don't know if you want to contribute to that, Cody, or not.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, these are not going to be, things that take extensive development. These are the whole purpose of them is to have more use case for Lucro, and to help Lucro volume. So they'll be very simple, very fun, existing games that you've probably already played a million times. So again, these are not games being developed from scratch. These will be games that I'm not going to say what they are yet, but games that you'll recognize, very simple and easy to use and fun, and you get to use Lucro.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that will work. Because, if you play a game, right, like, how will the Lucro fit in? I'm really curious.
Oh, let's
Um,
let's mention this too, because I've said it before, but not all, it's not always the same people around. So that aspect of getting going is still in the agreement phase. So yeah, we've gotten a scope of work proposal back from the devs we've asked about this, and so we're just kind of going over that. So you know once the two parties can agree, that will start. So, but the good thing is like that proposal contract, the scope of work proposal. I mean, that takes time to put together, depending on the situation. So it's being reviewed. It's gone back and forth, I think, 2 times now. So hopefully we can finalize an agreement on that. And then once it starts, something too that I think everybody would like to hear, and it's good to know regardless, is that there's time frames, right? There's time frames in the contract. You are to meet the time frames, or there, are penalties if you don't, and there are incentives if you do. A lot of times, and we found that that's a pretty effective way going forward to help avoid development delays. Now, that doesn't mean development delays may not still happen because things come up. It is what it is. But yeah, I thought I'd mention that, something that I think is good for everybody to know out there. So,
yeah, it's nice to know you have some pretty firm dates that, I mean, although you can't necessarily release like the date, let's say,
of course.
whatever it was, because things do change, right? But it's nice to know that you have that kind of security, knowing that, okay, by this date, we should have a finished product. So, which is great.
Yeah, it's just an important part of the contracts, and we've learned this the hard way. That it's like it's business at the beginning and end of the day, right? So, I mean, it needs to be it needs to be a proper contract with things like this, because it isn't just about like the money and the development time, but it's about putting the stipulation on it. Hey, or the incentive, right? Hey, if you meet these milestones or this time, or you beat it, maybe there's an incentive in this or this or that way. If you don't, maybe there's a penalty. Maybe that helps motivate it to be completed, within that time frame. So, but yeah, I mean, those are good things to know, right? It's like it'll be a set time frame. It's not an extended development process for gaming. It's very, very, very simple, because what we want to do is with a couple of types of games that already exist in the world and have for many, many, many decades. So, yeah, nothing groundbreaking here. Just a fun opportunity to be able to play fun games and use Lucro at the same time.
Yeah, and each utility fits a specific niche, right? We just don't want to stick with one thing. So yes, LunaSky NFT Marketplace addresses one particular business opportunity, whereas staking, which I'll cover in a minute, covers another particular base opportunity. And then, you know, uh, the wallet. I mean, we're all approaching this from different angles, trying to get a little piece of business here and there all around. And even if we can capture just a small percentage of the total market, and we know it's a large market, just the opportunities are huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, where would Amazon be if they just stuck to books?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's what people didn't necessarily have the vision with Amazon. I know when I saw Amazon coming out, I know I was a critic. I mean, I was just like, why? Why would you do that? I mean, I love Barnes and Noble. I love to go there with my wife and just chill around and look at magazines and books and buy a couple. And that was the experience I was buying, right? There's still a place for Barnes and Noble and the other bookstores, the local bookstore, right? Has it affected them? Yeah, it sure has. But there's a place for them, and I will still go to those. But if I want something like quick, and I don't want to call around and search inventory, they've got it nailed, man. They found that niche.
Yeah, I love books.
So,
Not to side tangent this, but I love physically. Gotten older, the more I've wanted to just have on my shelf and my stuff.
so sorry, Cody, you're cutting out really bad. You're just kind of breaking up. But the see, the thing is, I was looking when I saw Amazon, they were very one-dimensional back in that day. Like it was all about books, right? And so I didn't see that they were building this whole kind of system that yes, it would work for books, but it would work for so much. It's, you like I said before, they're ubiquitous, right? They're everywhere. They deal with everything. I mean, people have ordered things that are like, I mean, like I know one guy ordered a safe on there, and it was like the shipping was like $500, and he got it for free shipping. You know what I mean? I don't think they do that anymore, but things like that, like they figured out the supply chain issue, and they honestly do it better. So if we can do the same, follow the same vision, if we can build a better wallet, build a better NFT marketplace, then we will take market share. I have no doubt in my mind that we have that opportunity. Are you still with us, Cody, or did you have to? I think you might have a bit of a connection. Speaking, we were talking about staking as part of a utility, right? Um, Staking works like, if you're not really familiar, I've heard people, it's kind of funny, but I would think that people get kind of like wrapped up in staking and they're like, they don't understand it. And I guess I take for granted that I've kind of gone through that learning curve. Rasan, how you doing, man? Hope you're having a good day.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Uh,
Was there something you wanted to add?
yeah, later I want to ask you about I think it was you, right? Through Messenger DMs about that utility. Uh,
Sure, sure. Did you want to ask now, or do you want to wait till a little
when you
later?
finish your point, your thoughts.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So staking, yeah, like I was saying, that a lot of people get kind of wrapped up in. I've heard people say that they don't understand it, they don't really believe in it, they don't like they don't know the process, and it's really very simple. Staking works much like traditional finance. When you deposit money in your bank, you earn interest on it, and that's kind of how it works. The only difference is you're doing it usually through a provider who has the basically all set up. In our case, we're going to have it on the EverGrow website. We'll have staking option right there, not any unlike links to like Lucro and all that stuff. So when you stake your tokens, you're going to earn rewards on that, and those rewards are expressed pretty much like a bank does, APY, annual percentage yield. For an example, when you stake Lucro right now on Brew Labs, it's 10% roughly. When with EGC staking, there has been 12 trillion tokens allocated for rewards. So there's a lot of rewards to go around. Obviously, yield would depend kind of on the total amount staked and the total rewards that are available. So, for instance, if let's say the first day you stake and there's only like 10 people in there, you're still going to see like 1,000% yield, right? But that will change as more people get involved, and then the rewards will come down. But Sam has made it pretty clear they want the rewards to be pretty substantial. And there's always the option to add more tokens too, like Lucro, the same thing. So that is a utility, right? How does it work in the firms of utility? Well, for one thing, you're taking tokens out of the circulating supply, which, and their people are in a sense saving their money, saving their tokens. They're not trading them. That doesn't mean you couldn't trade them if you wanted to. Usually, a lot of companies will lock them up. So, no, you have to lock in for 6 months or 30 days even. And if you don't, then you get penalized. Sam made it clear there is no lockup. You can put them in one day and pull them out the next day. But the incentive is to stake them. So, and I was pretty hard on Sam many months ago because when he talked about staking, I think it was like last year or something, he was not a fan of it because he understood that staking is basically, like robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. But the way we did it was different. We bought out a whale. We offered tokens to an over-the-counter sale. So much of those tokens were allocated for staking, and then so much was allocated to a burn. And then when the over-the-counter sale happened, all the investment that went to buy out that whale got recouped. they actually made money on it. So there was nothing like we're not taking from anybody to do this. It's a better than break even scenario, and you, the holder, is going to benefit for it. So speaking of the burn, 9 trillion, that was what was sent and is now out of the circulating supply. That's in the burn wallet now. So, and you could track this on the, you go to PooCoin or, or even SafeMoon Dave has his burn report there. So yeah, so 9 trillion, that's kind of one of the largest burns I think I've seen outside of a launch. Um, so yeah, what else was going to talk about? Gerson, did you want to go ahead and make a point?
Okay, yeah, yeah. I don't know if you can speak about it, about the that topic, uh, presenting EverGrow as a passive income to regular people. Because I was sitting today with my kids and trying to fix something in my car, and I see people around sitting a little older than me, and I'm thinking, wow, how can you introduce crypto to people like this? They don't understand crypto, and I don't think they will, but they do understand passive income. So if there's a way that I can somehow introduce to my followers on Facebook, uh, because most of them I've tried before, like introducing crypto, and there's um, Spanish speaking my followers. So I think crypto is, well, I'm not trying to like it's for these people or those people, but um, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who speak Spanish that understand crypto, but it would be like a easier way for me to introduce EverGrow crypto to them just through passive income idea. Because I think most people understand the subject. So if you can elaborate about that.
Sure. So I think the best way to bridge that understanding, and Cody, if you chime in anytime you want, is to use a traditional investment method as a kind of a template, right? People who are used to traditional finance understand investment as in, okay, I put my money into a bank and I get a reward or a yield for it, right? Usually it's very, very little. Or they might understand like IRAs, or I don't know how it is for you and your country, but I imagine there is probably a very robust investment products that are available, right? So find the similarities and try to translate them over. So saying this is very much like this, right? I mean, when you really think about it, rewards tokens is a relatively new concept that a lot of other projects adopted, but the concept of rewards token in the form of a stable coin was very, very novel. A lot of other projects would reward you in the native token. So, for instance, like SafeMoon back in the day, you would buy a SafeMoon and then tax would pay you SafeMoon, right? A lot of people like that concept because they got more SafeMoon than they had before. The trouble with paying you in native rewards, and it's great when the price goes up, but what about when the price goes down? It's not a very stable floor. If that's probably not the right word, but it's not very stable. So try to help them understand that right now with EverGrow being a BUSD reward, a stable coin, that probably would make a little bit of sense to them. I don't know. What do you think, Cody? Do you think that's good to translate from existing financial framework to crypto to see help them understand?
Yeah, I do. I think ultimately you just really have to find a way to make it relatable to something that they're familiar with. And what is everyone familiar with? The dollar. So, like Steve's point, if you can kind of focus on the stable uh, coin BUSD reward aspect of it, that may help. You can say, hey, this is just like the US dollar. It's $1. You one coin, $1. Um, so yeah, I mean, you want to find things that people can relate to when trying to explain a new topic.
And it's really tough because it's not like you're going to get a quarterly statement like you do with a typical financial investment, right? You're responsible for your investment. It's in your DeFi wallet. So you are kind of one of those people that have to kind of open your wallet. What do I have? What am I getting rewarded with? And I get a lot of questions saying, hey, like, I don't see my rewards, right? And so you're not going to get, you're not going to spend like $40 worth of EverGrow, and then you're going to have $100 the next day. Is it possible? It might be if we had a crazy volume day.
Yeah. One thing too that just popped in my head is something that it may help to relate to the, let's say, generation before me. I'm 40 years old, so let's say the generation before me, like my parents or whatever. Uh, a lot of them are probably more familiar with traditional investing through, let's say, stocks or bonds. You can kind of use those as metaphors too to help relate to something like crypto and passive income. Dividends are dividends at the end of the day, whether you're getting them off the daily volume or you're getting them quarterly because that's how the company pushes them out. So another aspect of maybe being able to use something relatable to them to help explain and educate about crypto. Keep it simple. Best advice I can give you with anything. Keep it simple. Uh, you'll have some people that are obviously more analytical and more tech savvy, and you have the opportunity to dive a little deeper right off the bat with those types. Others, they may not be that way. So try to find something that you can relate to, they can relate to in the conversation. That may help to explain it, where they can grasp it a little bit more and, kind of open a doorway for them.
I think part of it, which is very, very powerful marketing tool, is saying that, EverGrow has distributed over 38 million in BUSD rewards. That is, it's a very, very powerful message. It basically saying that the contract, every time there's a buy and sell, there's a tax, and those rewards are automatically paid out. I think you and I were walking through it the other day on the EGC website, where you could actually connect your wallet. You can see how much you've been paid in rewards and what your pending rewards are, and then you can kind of gauge, right? And of course, everything is based on volume. If you have a large volume day, you will have more rewards. With the 14% tax being cut to 5%, a lot of people would think, well, I'm getting less rewards. That technically is true. However, if you have a higher volume, then you're actually getting more rewards. So, um, not being too one-dimensional either is that we're not going to be one of those token projects that are strictly relying on volume to make the project more valuable. That is kind of, I think that's kind of 2020 thinking, and I hate to say that, but that was like kind of the deal, right? If you have a high volume day, you own 10 billion Evergrow, you're going to get this much. That's totally understandable. But going forward, the point of utilities is to feed this kind of system, um, almost on autopilot, where you don't have to even think about that, right? Think of circulating supply coming down over time as more is getting burned, rewards are going up proportionally. Obviously, the more you hold, the more you're going to get. But this is the whole reason why the utilities is a concept is so powerful, and not just doing one utility, but doing many utilities, because one might do like, okay, a little bit, here and there, and I don't want to say like a little bit, like, $1,000 or something like that. But I'm talking like, you know, there's a lot of effort going into these utilities. It's not just a little simple thing. Yeah, the games might be relatively simple, but they can be very, very sticky and catchy. But if you have, kind of like this diversified portfolio in a sense, if that makes sense, I don't know. What do you think, Cody?
I was just about to say that word. I was literally about to say one word comes to mind from what you're saying, and that's diversify. And to your point, like having just one utility is fine, but you want to diversify your business and have as many things as you can that can help generate revenue from all types of different areas. Because if one is maybe down for a certain period of time, maybe the other one is up. Um, yeah, and all the more reason why a lot of these things they're not branded as Evergrow. That would limit it. That would limit us. It would put us in a tunnelized area where we would never really be able to get beyond that and market to things outside of what we're already connected to, the community we already have, etc. It's like that's why Atlas Wallet is its own entity and LunaSky is its own entity. Are these aspects of the Evergrow ecosystem? For sure. But these are their own entities. These are standalone utilities, right? They may be managed by EverGrow, and they are under the EverGrow ecosystem, which obviously in turn helps EverGrow, but these are standalone things. They have to be if we ever want to reach beyond the community we have now. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be able to do that. And that's where Sam's, I think, brilliance comes in with that type of thing. It's like he knows because of experience and foresight, we can't subject ourselves into this small area for any longer. I think, too, you made a great point about when you said it's kind of 2020. I mean, I agree 100% of that. Things are absolutely not the way they were in 2020 and 2021. 2021, we'll call it like the big year of rewards tokens or tokenomics, maybe, right? That's where it all kind of started, or at least became very big. You had SafeMoon come out. It's like the biggest one right off the bat, native token rewards. And then it went from there, with EverGrow doing the BUSD rewards and then just tons and tons and tons of projects. That was the year of tokenomics. Now it's time to adapt, and that's what we're doing. We can't operate right now going forward the same way that we did in 2021. Otherwise, we would never exist. We would never grow, and that'd be bad. So to Steve's point, that's what he's saying. It's like the company, just like we've said many times, and you've all heard, we have to adapt with the times. I've always loved the term sign of the times. I think it probably goes back to some 80s hair rock thing. I think there's maybe it's a Queensryche song or something. Crypto Bard's listening, he can tell me. But yeah, it's like sign of the times, man. You got to adapt to that, or you will never progress, and ultimately you will probably digress or regress, and then you won't exist, right? So things change, man. This is not 2020. This is not 2021.
It's
The things. Go ahead.
evolve or die, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. You cannot evolve. I say this all the time. At least I'm sorry for being my own echo chamber, but I just believe so strongly in this. You can't evolve if you're not willing to adapt first. If you don't adapt over these short periods of time into your surrounding environment, you will never evolve, right? So adaptation is the short period, and then the evolution is over a long period of time. So and that's just the way it works, It's a matter if
We
you're a survivalist or running a business, right? So
And you were talking about branding, like even Amazon themselves, they brand their different products different way, like Kindle, right? Uh, they could
100%.
have they could have called themselves the Amazon whatever that device is. Um, if you want to be if you want to do audiobooks and you want to read for them, you go through the audiobook creation exchange. They could have called it the Amazon Creation Exchange, but they didn't. There's a reason why they've kind of everybody knows like kind of we know it's Amazon, but there's a reason why they've done this in this way, and it's exactly the same reason why LunaSky is named the way it is, and why Atlas Wallet is named what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You've got to be able to expand your reach. That's the ultimate goal, right? Expand your reach, build yourself as a company. The more consumers, the bigger your reach. Well, you can't subject yourself to this finite little area just because you want to maintain namesake, You have to understand that these bigger companies, this is what they do and why they're as big as they are. To your point, Amazon's a great thing to bring up. Just circling back for a quick second about staking, and I'll reiterate this for anyone that hasn't heard it. The way that you will stake will be right on the EverGrow website. It'll be a new page on the website. You'll go there. It'll look a lot like the dashboard. If anyone goes and looks at the swap or the dashboard, it's going to be just like that. It's a singular page. You'll be able to stake right there. The design looks great. I think we're pretty much done with the design. I think we finalized that with them on like Thursday or Friday. Actually Wednesday. No. We have our design meetings on Wednesday, and then by I think Thursday or Friday, we were just answering a couple of last minute things for the last design, so it's off the development. Super quick build. It's also under a short time frame contract, so we're not talking months, right? Hopefully, things happen, obviously. So I'm just going to put that out there, but the contract is for a very short time. So the way that I'm expecting to see this play out, everybody, and grain of salt with this statement, all right? Not setting a finite time frame here, but I am telling you just candidly and transparently the way I expect this all to play out. LunaSky, staking, Atlas Wallet. Subject to change, so grain of salt, please. Don't quote me on that. This is recorded, so we can go back and reference this moment where I said that if we need to. But yeah. Luna, staking, Atlas.
You just want to be first, don't you? Oh man, yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. It's going to be kind of like a 1, 2, 3 punch. I love it. It's awesome news. I'm going to bring up the Bard here. While I do that, I'm going to answer a question. Brian Evergrow said something I've wondered about in the staking contract being developed. If it's completely brand new and revolutionary staking method, are we able to patent it to protect our innovation? That's a fantastic question. I don't know the answer to that. What do you think, Cody?
That is a great question. I don't know. I'm just trying to think out loud and spitball on it for a second. I don't know finitely, yes or no to that, but let's just talk about it for a minute. So, what is it? Okay, it's a brand new contract that's being developed. Who's developing it? Developers. Okay, how and why? Based off of our requests and requirements. Everything that they're writing is from our request. So, yeah, I mean, now the question really is, can you actually patent a Solidity contract? That's really the ultimate question. I guess if you could, then yes. The answer may be yes. Can you
So
patent a Solidity contract?
maybe we can, maybe it's find out if it's been done,
It,
and maybe you could do it. I
yeah.
don't know.
Would it be
It's
a patent? It wouldn't be a trademark because a trademark is a name, right?
Would it
So
be
it
a
wouldn't.
copyright? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be a patent or some type of copyright, but names are trademarked. Material is typically copywritten, right? And patents are. I mean, I guess it would be a patent because it is a contract. It is a blueprint.
It's an
That's
intellectual property, right?
yeah, interesting. I'm gonna have to ask about that. Let me take a note.
So just to give you an idea, Brian, the I know of a particular token contract that is a direct copy of another project, and all they really did was change the name on it. They didn't do anything at all. All they
Happens
did
all the
was
time.
exactly.
That is
So
actually the year of 2021 in crypto.
so
Fact.
yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of and the thing is, I mean, I suppose they could, if they wanted to, they could sue. But I don't know. It's kind of a novel concept. I really don't know if anybody's really ever, like you said, copyrighted. I'd like to know the question. Maybe we'll do a follow up a little later.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've taken note of it for sure. I'm going to ask around. You know, one thing you said too, and we don't have to get on a tangent about this. I just have to mention it though. The S word, the sue word in the crypto space, right? Remember back when like the whole centralized exchange thing was going on with DigiPhoenix and all that, and people would be like, well, why can't you sue them? Why can't you sue them? It's like this kind of ties back in that conversation earlier about development, you know, just the processes and the time, the money, et cetera. So it's like, could we have? Yeah, it would have been worth the time and money to regain the whatever they ended up taking from us, 70 something thousand. I mean, no, international law, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, just goes on and on and on. So it's like, you know, to your point, like, could these other projects have sued them for really using their contract? Probably not. They could try, but ultimately, through litigation, it would probably cost them more than it was even worth, even if they got it back, you know, which they probably wouldn't because how could they when it's not? I mean, maybe they could prove it, but what's going to be the relevance at that point? Like, I wrote this before you, but I didn't launch it, except, you know, so many little factors there. I don't know. Just kind of
Yeah, but
thinking out loud about it.
and it really makes you think too, because those two contracts are identical, right? They pay out exactly the same, but they have in totally different values.
Yeah.
So it just shows you that the value of a project is dictated by many different things, and yeah, it could be substantially
Well,
different.
a lot of these contracts too are just frameworks. It's not. It's hard to even say that that's wrong because I think a lot of projects, you know, that started, especially in the we'll call it the early years of tokenomics, 2020, 2021. It's like they, you know, these were just started by folks out there trying to get into starting crypto projects. It doesn't mean they're real experienced. They may have had a Solidity contract written for them or even automated for them in some way, you know. So it's like a lot of these existing Solidity contracts back then were just frameworks, and everybody kind of adopted them basically. So that being said, where's the line? Like, where is the line of like, okay, well, he kind of took more of this than they did. Oh, well, they really just adopted it. It's like the same thing. What's right, what's wrong there is hard to say. Glad
Yeah,
I'm not a lawyer.
no kidding. Yeah, that's interesting. Bard, how you doing? Thanks for being patient.
Bard,
Hey, what's going on?
How
Just
are you
wanted
doing?
to talk about the alley oop regarding Atlas, LunaSky, and staking. I'm hoping, don't quote me, this is a goal, but I'm hoping that a couple of weeks after LunaSky launch, I can open up beta and we'll have a little alley-oop utility going.
Yeah, love it, man. Hey, tell everybody a little more about it, Bart. Come on, you can't just like halfway open the bag and then close it off while the cat's trying to get out. Tell them a little more.
It's a Web 2, Web 3 hybrid game system. The reason why I call it a system is because it's a framework for creators to actually create their own games with NFTs. And this is going to open up utility for LunaSky only, Lucro only NFTs within a game system. And it's going to be wide open as far as your creativity goes, as long as you work within the framework. And I think a bunch of people will really enjoy it. No fees for using it. It's just a matter of you can choose to use NFTs in the system, or you can just be a casual player and just use game components. There's no requirement for fees or anything like that. It's a free website. So I've been working on it since November, and things are coming together really well.
Yeah, that's awesome, Bart. I can't wait. I know you have been working on this for a while. A couple quick questions, if I may, and obviously speak to what you can and what you can't. Understandable. So, is this an RPG type game for folks that are wondering?
Yeah, it's RPG based. I don't want to get into too many details because I'm sure somebody will run off with it. But
Yeah, it's all
there's
good.
going to be NFT imagery, NFT characters, NFT music, the whole gamut that I could think of. And like I said, you don't have to use your wallet if you don't want to. That's where the hybrid piece comes in. When you first authenticate, if you choose to connect your wallet, then it's going to record your wallet address, and then you can disconnect and never have to connect again until you do some kind of NFT transaction. And then I've got to prove that you're an owner or creator of that NFT. But for the most part, it's just username and password login, resetting your password. There's a couple of options, your typical Web 2 options, but there's also the Web 3 option of you connect your wallet and prove you are who you say you are, then you can reset your password. And I kind of like that feature. But
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I will hold off from probing a little more because obviously my probing is, I guess, kind of biased because I kind of know some of the answers to some of the questions. I just want the community to hear.
Right.
But no, that's awesome, man. I can't wait. Super excited for that. One thing I'd like to say too, because you mentioned it, Lucro, right? Rocket and myself, we've been doing the past couple of nights. We have been buying and selling and minting and doing auctions. Yes, auctions, everybody, with Lucro. I'll do some screen leaks later, and I'll show y'all a couple of cool pictures of like using Lucro on the platform to buy, to mint, to do an auction, bidding, all kinds of stuff. So we've got some fun leaks that will pop out tonight at some point. So just keep an eye out.
Tonight. Wow. Okay. I'll need to
Tonight,
watch.
yeah, we're trying to do like a little bit of a leak now every maybe 24 to 48 hours. If you hadn't noticed, it's kind of what we're trying to do. So just gave it away, but there it is.
Very nice. Stay tuned to LunaSky NFT. Yeah, for sure. Moon, how you doing?
Hey guys. Hey Steve.
How are you feeling, man?
Moon, hey man.
Uh, Sorry if I sound weird. I literally just woke up from a nap.
Yeah, you're following the Paul's midday nap routine, huh?
Yeah, apparently. Apparently. First thing I did when I woke up, the first thing I did was hit my toe. God damn it, dude. I swear to God.
Half asleep and you bust your toe, huh?
Yeah, that's that royal, hellish pain when you hit your toe on the freaking leg of the table, and you see God,
I think the only thing that compares is maybe stepping on a Lego or something like that.
Yeah, damn. Anyways, how's everybody doing? What's going on?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Thanks for joining.
Oh,
We
I always joining his
Yeah,
space.
yeah, doing good. How are you? Minus the toe thing. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm way better than I was before. So that's great news.
That's great,
Uh,
man.
so yeah, it's been going good so far.
Nice. I want to thank you again for doing those gift card art that I actually already put them in the EverGrow community store already. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, you did? I gotta check it out. No, yeah, so welcome. I should have done that sooner. I've just been so busy with a bunch of things that I just kept pushing that back. Funny enough, those things were like uh, 2 hours each to render. For some reason,
Wow.
they're not even that complex, but for some reason, it took a long time to render. I don't know why.
Yeah, they look awesome. I mean, I don't know how I can use the MP4s just yet. Right now, I'm just using the PNGs. But yeah, I've got them, so that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, the MP4s. If you want to use them later on, or even if you mean that you want to use them for something else, that's basically why I included them.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. I was going to ask you, you the guys who have the speaker, did you guys manage to catch the crypto control video with Sam and Paul? And I wanted to know your thoughts on it.
You asking me?
Sure, yeah.
Us?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all of you guys.
hell yeah, I watched it. I didn't catch all of it live, so I had to go back and finish it. But yeah, I caught the first half of it live, and then I went back and watched the last half. I thought it was great, man, fantastic. I thought it was really cool too. They did a on camera interview. I thought that was really cool. I was happy to hear they were going to do
I
that.
think so too, yeah. They did a really good job. And what did you think, Moon?
Yeah, I did catch it. Sorry, I didn't catch it live, but I did watch it after. Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was also where I took a little clip of Sam on that. I don't know if you guys saw. I tweeted it. Saying that he's going to be responsible with the investors' money when he was talking about Crater and why we're not going with Crater. How
Yeah,
that's a big gamble that would essentially gamble the entirety of EverGrow, and if we failed, we failed, and we would all die. So yeah, I just tweeted something out. I took a little clip of that. Tweeted, tell me a more conscious CEO or chairman of the investors' money, because I'll wait. I really liked hearing that. I've never heard that from any leader in the crypto space so far. Being conscious of your holders' money, to me, is so important, and you simply do not see enough of that in the space.
I agree with you 100%. And I have to add on to that. That's where you come into, obviously as a chairman or CEO, whatever you may be of a project, uh, to making hard decisions. And sometimes the right decision isn't always the most popular decision, but it is the absolute right decision for everybody involved, not just the people running the show. I mean, the decisions that are made for the community, the investors, and they're not always the most popular. And the reason, obviously, is just education, right? Lack of understanding why this decision is being made. So, when Sam goes into detail about explaining things like that, it's fantastic, especially for those, or in that specific sense, because it's like, well, I understand that everybody wants to crater, but it's 2023, not 2021. And here's why we're not going to crater. And it's for your benefit, trust me. So I love that, and I agree with you, man, 100%. We just have to continue to educate people, and when he starts explaining those things in detail, that's exactly what's happening. And I'm grateful for it because he's 100% right. We don't need to be doing things that aren't going to be benefiting, the company and the community as the future, unfolds. We can't do things the same way as if it was 2021. We would not exist.
I'm curious, Hassan, what were your thoughts when if you had a chance to watch the video?
About so
The
the
crypto the video that was released from Crypto
man,
Control.
I really enjoyed that. I saw it twice, especially with Sam. Yeah,
What was there a particular part that you thought was like, oh, this was really important?
Honestly, no. I think the whole thing was good to me.
I'm leading
Like,
up to something. I'm leading up to something. Trust me.
okay, I don't see it, but I enjoyed the whole thing. Maybe because English is not my first language, I had to see it twice to understand it and to savor every detail.
I wonder,
Yeah,
thinking about that, when you're trying to get this message, like you were saying earlier, to people who maybe English is not their native language, is there a way to like translate the videos that are on YouTube to Spanish or something else? Or is it something like a service you got to hire somebody on, like Fiverr or something, to do it for you, and then it has to be listed on as a separate? Like, does anybody know?
I think it would be better. Well, from that video coming from you guys, with hiring someone who speak the language, because sometimes there are things that are translated through the culture and not just the through the words.
You're
Yeah.
You
absolutely
know,
right.
so it would be easier for somebody who is who knows the culture, who speak the language, either bilingual or coming from that area. Um, yeah, I think it would be easier.
That's a good point. And if I may, I just want to say this to that point. Very simple thing. I don't know who's noticed this lately or not. I added multilingual to the website a few weeks ago. So, yeah, if you have friends that maybe English is not their native language, there are more than 50 languages available on the EverGrow website now. So, there's a little tab at the bottom.
Right on. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, well, let's see. We'll see what we can do. Maybe I'll explore the idea. And I mean, obviously, I don't speak any other languages fluently, but yeah, like I think it's really important that we get that message out, and not everybody speaks English, and there's just so much other. And he's absolutely right. There's something that it's not just a direct translation from English to Spanish or another language. There has to be a clear understanding of the vernacular of crypto and to be able to explain things in a way that makes sense.
But that's also, don't take this the wrong way, what I'm about to say. But I think this is the reality of the world of investing that we need to be more aware of. As an investor, uh, my English is not my first language either. Far from it. I'm Portuguese. So I also took years and years to learn the language and to be able to speak and understand. And ultimately, if you're not investing, that's fine. You don't have to know English. But if you are investing, and especially in the Western market, then at the end of the day, the responsibility falls onto the investor to know English, or at least to make an effort towards that. Because the bottom line, nobody's going to speak Chinese or Japanese or Malaysian, or that's the reality. So I also feel a lot of times certain people investing just they don't I feel like they don't put the work in to learn the language, and it really has to happen, even for your safety along with everybody else's.
And it's tough because not everybody. It's like investing, like where I see like the questions in Discord or on Twitter, and sometimes I see these questions like, "Oh man, it's like so obvious." Like, well, I wonder why they don't know that. But people are so busy; they don't necessarily have time to invest all of this, research and all that stuff. They got a life they got to live, right? Who knows what's going on in their life? So I do my best to be patient and answer those questions. And I don't know, maybe we just got to be different. Maybe be the exception to the rule where we maybe offer multilingual information. You know what I mean? Kind of like what Cody was saying, by offering that on the website and other media forms too. So yeah, I think there's just so much opportunity out there that we have to open ourselves up to people around the world. I mean, I was just did a tweet this morning there with go ahead, Herson.
Yes, I agree with MoonAndroid, right? And with you at the same time. Some people don't put the effort, the work, but at the same time, like you said, they're so busy that they lose track of that they have to put the effort. So at some point, like you just said, we have to be a little bit like different and reach them. Otherwise, they won't understand, and they don't. They need to. learn how to invest, but they don't know it. And let me tell you, I'm coming from a country, or maybe I don't know if it's the time, the society, or what. Things like investing, learning about nutrition, exercise, things that you will use in your adult life no matter what, they are not taught. You have to go and find it and learn it. You know?
Exactly.
So now it was hard for me. It has taken me and still taking me a lot of time and a lot of effort, and but I'm doing it. But a lot of people are not like that. So wh- it's a hard subject, but it's needed.
But that's the thing, right? Expectations, right? When
Yeah.
you said
So
everything,
I
you
think
you
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it would be beneficial, not right now, later in the future, for you guys to. I think it would be like a way of marketing too, but educational, step by step. I was a teacher in my country, and one thing I understand that no matter how educated you think people are, you still have to introduce subjects to them in a ABC manners. If they already are ahead, well, good. If not, then you're doing your job. I taught all levels, kindergarten and high school. So, and that was one of my technique, introducing new things to them very in a very basic way. So it doesn't have to be like videos of 10 minutes, no, 2 3 minutes teaching them basic concepts about. And it doesn't have to be that way. Just an idea that just came to my mind. You know about investing, especially crypto. When I mention crypto, man, believe me, people, it's like, oh no, no, you lose a lot of money. Like they don't lose money in the traditional way either. When something goes down, so there's a lot of fear. So I guess, like I learned this through a movie. The only thing that changes your life is information, whether you give it to them or they come and get it. But information, that's that's why I'm always on top of my kid. Did you learn something in school today? Something new? Tell me. Learn as much as you can. It will help you.
And that is why I say that is why I'm so aggressive with this idea of learn English, learn as much as you can.
Yes.
Don't be waiting for whatever project to come speak in your language because number one, that's not going to happen, and number two, my main language is Portuguese. If I was waiting for EverGrow and the community to speak Portuguese to me, I wouldn't be an investor. I'm sorry, but it's as simple as that. 98% of the community of EverGrow and what happens in EverGrow, everything from news to moves to price changes to people talking, happens in English, not in Portuguese. Because English is the international language, and that's just a fact of life. So I could either, learn English, or I simply wouldn't be a part of the community nowhere near as I am now. And this is a reality. And unfortunately, it falls on the holder to go out of his way to learn. I understand there's time constraints. I understand nobody, people are working, people are busy. I get it. But you still have to do the effort because, this isn't a game. This is your money at the end of the day. And you have to be held accountable, at least in the language department. That's the bare minimum where, in my eyes, and remember, I'm saying this English is not my first language, far from it. Took me 10 plus years to learn it properly. But you have to do the effort. You absolutely have to. Even for your safety, it is so important.
It reminds me of what Paul was talking about on a few spaces back, where the deal with the whale, where Sam basically decided that okay, we're basically gonna buy out this whale, and they didn't speak English, so he made the effort to use like translation to talk with this whale. I think he was from Beijing or China or something, and in order to communicate and to try and convey basically what the plan is and all that stuff, and how do we do this, and the negotiation process. So there was an effort on both parts. And I think it's really important that we bridge that gap, right? Because this deal could have never happened. Sam could have just said, yeah, I don't speak that language, and, and find a translator and get back to me, you know what I mean? Or something like that. So I think there's a lot to be said for that, but we do have to do more. I'm curious, Rasan, crypto adoption in your country, what does that look like? I know you can't really use the US as a comparison because, but like, how do you see it progressing, or is it something that's kind of fringe?
Well, I'm from Dominican Republic, but I live here in United States. And but when I go on vacation, and also I keep in touch through my family. I think it's growing because when I go there and I get together with my brothers and other friends, and we talk about crypto, like my generation, and a little bit young. I'm 40, so like 20 something, 30. They understand. When I mean understand, they are investing. Now, people over my age, they know because through the news in some of the digital newspaper, it is mentioned. And when I read the comments, I say, "Oh, people understand. People know about crypto, even though they haven't invested." But with the people I get together in my country, yeah, they. But it's so uh, the access to it is so difficult. It's difficult. It's not a common thing. I don't know where I read this or heard, but a great percentage of people that, especially in countries that are not developed, um, I forgot, I'm losing my thought now. They don't have like a bank account, you know, much less a wallet. When you say a wallet, me, to tell you the truth, I was working in my job and someone told me about Bitcoin. No, because it's about around $5,000 each coin. I had no idea, and I regret it. I regret not understanding. Once I understood the concept of crypto, I said that would never happen to me, and that's when I started working. I working studying about crypto because a coin in my mind is a physical coin. So the access and also the interest because we have to put two together. Like I, I'm in your side. I understand your point, but I also understand MoonAndroid points. You have to put the effort and I see. I was teaching English through Facebook, doing videos, and I can't now because I'm too busy. But it's true. People have to put the effort in learning. That's not only English, but things like that, like investing. It's your money. It's your life. And I understand people, but I don't justify that because I learned English in an orphanage, and when the director find out I was. Uh, Putting myself in a school. He said, no, no, no. And he took me out. So I did it anyway with a book my father uh, bought. And when I finished that book, I said, I need something more because I need more English. And the universe, when you push yourself and you try to do something, it's like the universe is in your side. I remember he found another book, a green book, but it needed a cassette, right? And 3 months later, Hurricane George came, 1998. And through the rubbles after the hurricane, one of the kids found a cassette because he knew I was studying English, and he gave it to me. And guess what? That cassette belonged to the book my father gave me like 2 3 months earlier. And when I put those things together, that's when my English advanced a little bit more. So anyway, yeah, people have to put the effort. But going back to you, I think it's growing. I think it's growing the concept of crypto.
Incredible, like just incredible hearing you speak about that. You know, I think CWP and I have talked about this in the past that the people who can benefit the most from crypto are the people who are not necessarily in traditional finance. So I hope for adoption, worldwide adoption, just because they have the most to gain, I think. things like inflation, where you have inflation. We worry about inflation of like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6%. They're taking thousands of percent of inflation where the price changes on a very simple item in a matter of hours. So I think crypto has so much opportunity for developing countries. So let's make that point real quick. I want to jump back to what we were talking about earlier and ask Bard that very same question. The crypto control YouTube video. Did you watch it? And was there anything on there that you were like you really really liked?
Hello. The video
Oh,
was
just a
very
second, Christopher. Just give me 1 second. I was asking Bard and see if you respond. 1 second, please. Bard, are you still there? We might
You
have
there, Bart?
lost him.
You have to summon him by singing or jamming a very special and select group of music. I'm
There you
pretty
go.
sure Bard and I are like lost brothers. We've talked about this before. Like, I think maybe we were separated at birth. We have some kind of kindred, some, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. Anyways, if you sing a tune from, let's say, like something 80s, he'll come on. I guarantee it. I bet you 5 EverGrow.
We have to use the Yu-Gi-Oh! The Crypto Bard special holographic card to summon him.
Yes.
Anyone has that?
While simultaneously playing, let me think, Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. That would do it. I'm pretty sure that would bring him in.
It's too funny.
Or a classic Tesla song. I know that would do it.
Nothing yet. We'll see. Christopher, my apologies. What did you think of the video? And was there anything striking or anything exceptional that you kind of like, oh, this is interesting?
The video was good made, but what I noticed on YouTube when you looked in the statistic, it was seen by some thousands, not much people. To just get more people who are watching. And what I ask was, when the utilities are released, yes, they will make buy, back, and burn. B. The question now is, in this moment, is it burning regularly or is this periodically from day one from the revenues it will be burned immediately? How is this planned? And the third question, and the further question is the metaverse. When you think they will integrate Lucro and when all begins there? Because we haven't heard from the abstract for a long time. Thank you.
I can answer question 2 and 3, Steve. I'll need you to repeat question 1, but let me address 2 and 3 really quick, Christopher. Hey, always good hearing from you, my friend. So, question 2: will the burn be automatic, etc.? It will be done strategically by Sam's choice. So he's always done a great job at this kind of thing. So it won't be an automatic function. It will go into a pool, and he will decide when to use it. Question 3 about the metaverse situation. Yeah, it just comes down to when Abstract is ready to release, obviously, the build. That's going to take a little bit longer. That's why we're also, prior to that, pushing out things and incorporating Lucro, like gaming. Obviously, the NFT marketplace will incorporate it, et cetera. So staking of Lucro right now. So, yeah. But we obviously have communication with Abstract very frequently. They're chugging along. They're building. They're the real deal. They're a development, company. They're an indie game company. So, yeah, once they get closer to release the full metaverse, we'll be able to incorporate that. I don't have a time frame on it right now, though. I'm sorry.
So keep in
Cody,
mind, Christopher, that go ahead. Go ahead if you have a question for Cody.
Yeah.
Cody, do you think they will release this year the abstract universe? What do you think? What do you know about? Do you know something? It's when they will release? Could be, let's say, when from 4 utilities, what we see on economics, 3 are released, yes, and the staking, okay, is the next what is coming. I'm asking really when are they ready? Because you hear very less. I was very surprised that a metaverse Rumble, yes, has adopted the EverGrow man. Yes, it was funny too. Thanks.
Yeah. I missed the very first part of what you said, but I think I picked up enough to kind of understand ultimately what you're asking. So, and correct me if I'm wrong here. I mentioned this earlier, I think right before you came in. This is what I expect to be happening in the very, very near future. Now, grain of salt with this. I can't finitely say this is going to be the process of releases, but this is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting LunaSky, and then I'm expecting staking, and then I'm expecting the Atlas wallet. After that, obviously Metaverse and other things we have planned that we're not going to talk about yet. Sometime in between, I need to back up actually. Sometime in between LunaSky and Atlas wallet, we're hoping to have a couple of very simple Lucro-oriented games to come out. If not in between that time, maybe right after Atlas Wallet. But I do absolutely expect Luna is going to be first. It's very, very close. Yes, I know the word's very, very close, but it's true. Then it's going to be staking. Then it's going to be Atlas Wallet. That I'm 99% confident on. That is going to be the time frame release, and then everything else afterwards. Oh, really quick too, just to clarify, Lucro gaming and the abstract metaverse, those are two totally separate things. Just so everyone knows. Okay, like we spoke about earlier, we want to get out a couple of very, very simplistic games to incorporate Lucro to help with Lucro volume and just getting Lucro used in different ecosystems beyond just LunaSky once that comes out. So the whole Lucro gaming thing, and I'll reiterate this one more time, is not to develop not to reinvent the wheel, not to develop some game that doesn't already exist. We just want to incorporate Lucro into an existing game or two that everyone would be familiar with and has probably seen or played themselves at some point over the past several decades. It's not necessarily crypto related, but it will be because you'll have Lucro integrated into it. So yeah, a very, very short build out from that. Not an extensive development process for it, nothing like that. We're not talking about building a whole new thing, right? We're talking about taking some games that already exist, incorporating Lucro into them, and boom, putting them out there for the community. So I hope to see that before Atlas Wallet, but it may be right after. It just kind of depends. We're still going back and forth with the scope of work proposal on that and, agreeing on a contract. Christopher, I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, just let me know.
So to Christopher's point about the different utilities and all that stuff, one thing that's something important to mention too is that the revenue from those utilities kind of behave in different ways. So, for instance, LunaSky is an EverGrow project, right? The wallet, on the other hand, the revenue is generated through microtransactions, right? How those microtransactions are accumulated and paid out might not necessarily be on a real-time basis. It might be one of those where over time it builds and builds, and then like like your paycheck, you get paid more every 2 weeks or once a month or something like that, and then those revenues are kind of sort of tallied and calculated and all that stuff. So you might not actually see for the first little while any real revenue from one of the utilities like Atlas, but it doesn't mean it's not making revenue. And to the point of the abstract VR, they're pretty quiet online, but that doesn't mean they're not working. They've got a lot of partnerships with University of Ohio, I believe it is, and they're into military contracts and things like that. Like just because they're not talking about it doesn't mean they're not working. I think a lot of people kind of worry that they've gone kind of like gone quiet and they're not doing anything. They're doing a lot. They're very ambitious people, and obviously they're ambitious about the VR and their physical in-house, what do they call that? The virtual escape room. Very, very popular. But no, I wouldn't worry too much. As far as integration, I think Cody said it best. We really don't know, but we're going to do things on our end and be ready for it. And then when they're ready on their end, we integrate, right? But I think I know we're
Yeah,
going to hear more about
exactly.
that.
And Steve is 100% right on this. They are always working. They're a development company. They're an indie game company. They've been doing this long before we were around, So, yeah.
And they took seed funding, right? So they're
The,
accountable. So they're
one
accountable for
question.
their because people have. Go ahead.
That's okay. No, I wanted only to ask. Yes, according to tokenomics, yes, 100% from the metaverse goes to the token burning too. So they will use 100% and give this to EverGrow?
So Lucro within the metaverse, right? That is going to be the native currency within the for the gaming and all that stuff, right? So as Lucro is being used, that 1% tax goes into effect. So as users are buying items within the game using Lucro, or doing things within the game using Lucro, that's where you're going to see the volume go up, right? As more people use it. So, and that 1%, again, 20% goes to liquidity, 80% of that 1% goes to buyback and burn of EverGrow. I hope that helps. CWP,
They,
man.
they they actually have a military contract? Damn.
They've done a few proposals to my knowledge, simply because typical training is extremely expensive, right? Especially military. You usually need physical products, ammunition and all that stuff. And let's just talk about weaponry, right? This is not cheap to train somebody on how to use some of the equipment, right? So if you could do it in a virtual way, you can develop that muscle memory for certain things, right? But in the past, it was like you needed servers on site, you needed security on site, you needed all of these different components in order to make it work. And the technology was very, very limited, right? It was expensive and limited. But with abstract VR, they're doing it in such a way that it's all kind of basically in the cloud, and it can be secured because you're dealing with that 256-bit security and all that stuff, and so you don't have to worry about hacking and things like that. Plus, the cost is a fraction of what the typical VR training used to be. Cody, I don't know if you can speak to that.
Yeah, I can actually. This all comes down to cloud computing. That's all it comes down to, right? And so cloud computing, right? You have cloud compute, you have edge computing. So edge computing is just used to process time sensitive data. So as more things take up cloud space and use cloud computing, things have to get faster, right? So obviously VR technology over the cloud has been kind of peaked for a long time, and it's finally rolled over. So that's why they have decided to take their business from brick and mortar into this cloud verse or metaverse. So that's all it comes down to. And with military application, obviously, and they've spoke about this, that's why they have to try and get contracts with different types of companies, military being one of them, because they can offer very, very, very low latency training over, VR. So when maybe 2 or 3 years ago they couldn't, right? So yeah, that's what it all comes down to: cloud computing. It's
And
now at the point where they can do that and play games over that. Games have existed over that for a long time, but they've been limited with things like latency and stuff. And now that edge computing is much better, they'll be able to do those kind of things with lower latency and higher resolve, etc. So
And in the industrial environment, one thing that he had Colin had talked about was training for like tasks that are repetitive. So if you brought somebody on, let's say onto the floor of an industrial area, and you say, okay, I need you to do this, I'm going to show you how to do this, right? Again, they don't have the skill set. They may have read the books and they know how to do this and gone through the training, but they haven't physically done the tasks. So they don't have that movement, muscle memory, and all that stuff. Whereas you can train this, you can be in a room, in a virtual environment, doing these tasks over and over until you develop that. And then when you go to the floor and you're actually working with physical products, that the training time is just cut down to nothing. Therefore, your cost has gone down considerably. And the safety factor goes up too, right? Because now you don't have that fumbling of, how do I do this task? Or no, I don't remember this and all that stuff. All of this can be done in a virtual way. So they're in a really, really good business. And I think for them, the future is pretty amazing. I mean, I wish I would have thought of it.
yeah, and again, the limitations of cloud computing. So now, technology gets peaked for a small, short period, and then it evolves constantly, faster and faster. And that's why it is where it is. Because prior to that, years ago, sure, there's remote learning, there's all kinds of remote training going on globally all the time, different companies, etc. But there were still limitations, and some of that stuff now has been resolved. So cloud computing is that much better in a VR world.
It's funny because I've joined a couple of their was they on Twitch, I think it was, where they were just kind of goofing around with games and all that stuff. It's easy to mistake them for just a bunch of geeks that are just playing games. They're really smart people, so don't underestimate them whatsoever. They just enjoy gaming a lot. That's why they're in it. So
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that, let me just say this real quick. I'm sorry, CWP. Let me just say this before I forget. That I would say about abstract VR is regarding the military contracts and applications. That VR technology might be perfect for that. Absolutely. But when it comes to the consumer market, and most importantly, folks that like gaming and are into the whole space, I'm one of those people. I believe it is a mistake, and this doesn't just go to abstract VR. This goes to any metaverse VR company. I believe that focusing solely on VR, virtual reality, is a mistake, especially when you're talking about the consumer market. And there's two reasons for that. First of all, you can still build a game or any game or any metaverse. That's what is a metaverse? It's literally a virtual world. That's all it is. Um, you can build any metaverse without the need to go virtual reality. Because when you go virtual reality only, first problem is there's a financial barrier. So right off the bat, not only do you need a powerful computer, but now you need an expensive VR kit on top. So that's the financial barrier right off the bat. And second, how many people are willing to do that every day? The cumbersome of having to go through that, right? Put on, a heavy set on your head, have a room that is open enough for you to play in, have that heavy thing on your face for hours at a time. While you have that on your face, you can't see anything in the real world. So your baby could be drowning in the bathtub. You won't know. Yeah, of course, I'm extrapolating, right? But it's a very real concern. I think in those cases, for the consumer market, VR should be solely optional. And I think you should have the main game and the main metaverse, just be played normally through a screen. VR as an option, but also the option of doing it normally. And the best example of this is if you go look at the biggest metaverse right now, that's Decentraland. By far, they're the biggest metaverse in the space right now. Funny thing, they don't have VR. And I think that's good. I think they'll add VR later on, but they're the biggest because by not focusing on VR, they remove that financial entry barrier, and they remove that cumbersome entry barrier just to play their game. You can just sit down at your desktop and play and be part of it, just like any other game, without having to do anything else. And I think that's very important.
I agree with you. This is a great point, Moon. I'm gonna pick up from there if I may. And we've had this conversation with the abstract. Matter of fact, so I remember in the early days when abstract was first being brought up by EverGrow, people would ask this question, like, "What if you don't have a VR headset? Are you required to get one to do this?" And the goal is no. So there will be both of those options with the abstract metaverse, where uh, you're not going to be denied access because you can't use a VR headset. You'll have both options, which I think is very important. And to your point,
I'd like to piggyback on that a little bit. I, I don't know the guys there and girls well, but I've had some interactions with them. Do not underestimate them. They are, I don't know how many people in the organization. I get the idea it's very, very small, but they are very, very smart. They have attracted the attention of things like Ohio State University, NVIDIA, and the U.S. military. Um, you've got to have a lot going for you to have that kind of a resume. Um, I'm impressed by them, and I think a whole lot of other people will be. And I know that a lot of the games that they are putting on there will be available to people without a headset. Um, while I have this opportunity, Cody, I would like to ask you a question that was triggered by what Steve said about people in third world countries. Um, with Trust Wallet right now, if I want to buy B&B as an example, there's a $150 minimum um, in purchase. I wanted to know if that kind of a barrier will exist in the Atlas wallet as well. And the reason I'm asking this is in the Philippines, 25 bucks is not a lot of money to us, but it's a lot of money to them.
mm-hmm.
That's the equivalent of 200 or 300 US dollars to us.
Yeah.
Um, will there be an ability for people in third world countries to buy small amounts of crypto?
Yeah, it's a great question. This all comes down to the provider. It doesn't have a lot. It doesn't have anything to do with the wallet. The provider. The provider could be Simplex, MoonPay, Transact, Mercurio, etc. So it's 100% about the provider, CWP. When I want to buy BNB through Trust Wallet, by the way, they're not all $150 minimum. Some of them are a $50 minimum. You just have to check the provider. And then you have to calculate, well, what's best? $50 minimum, but I get a little less than I would get with 150 on somebody else, etc. In Atlas Wallet, there will be several providers. Some of them will have varying minimums. So, yeah, that's really the best answer I can give you because that's the way it works.
Great, and thank you.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you something real quick, Cody. What would
Yeah.
it take for EverGrow to, if at all possible, not need to go through a third party provider to achieve that?
Gosh, man, that's a great question. I would imagine a lot in the sense of not just the monetary aspect set aside, like the bank side of it, regulation probably with that. I mean, because think about these providers, y'all. What do you have to do every time that you want to use one of these? Or let me rephrase that. What do you have to do the very first time you go to use any provider to buy BNB or something like that in a wallet? You got to go through a KYC process, right? If you have a KYC process, you obviously have a lot of other things going on. I mean, you probably have regulations set up with the government where you're based, et cetera, et cetera. So probably a lot, man. Yeah, I would imagine.
I asked this question because I was speaking the other day on Telegram, and we were talking about crypto in general. And Awesome actually came in and told me that even centralized exchanges like Binance, Gemini, Kraken, whatever, even they use third-party providers when it comes to on-ramp and off-ramp. And I'll be honest, she's right, and I did not know that. I knew that was a thing for the smaller companies. I never knew the big exchanges still used the third-party providers. Because in my mind, you're so big, you have billions of dollars. Why would you have a third party, sucking a percentage in and out when you could just do this yourself?
Liabilities, I bet.
Right, liabilities legislation, and I was very surprised about that, and I can actually confirm that that's true because I've withdrawn money with Crypto.com, and at the time, their third party was a company called Transactive, which apparently was in Lithuania, which also apparently got taken down by the government.
They stopped. They don't exist anymore, do they?
Right, but now do you see what I mean as well? So by going with another, third party, this caused a whole problem because they got taken down by the government of Lithuania for basically money laundering. Yeah. So that gave a bad name to them. You know what I mean? So there's also problems with that. If you're big enough, I believe doing it yourself, whatever that requires, if it's banking licenses, financial licenses, dealing with the regulation, I think you should, because things can go south very easily, and you can, be put in a bad spotlight like they were.
It's a super interesting topic, actually. Think about how far we could have a whole spaces about this topic, actually. It's a really interesting point. I mean, yeah, why wouldn't a project with billions of dollars in revenue just be their own provider? I mean, there's got to be some big legislation reasons why.
There has to be, like you just said, billions of dollars. I can forgive EverGrow, the Atlas wallet, for going with a third party. We're compared to Crypto.com or Binance, we're nobodies.
Yeah,
we don't have billions of dollars. Our resources are not there.
The goal too, though, is to have as many providers as possible. I will tell you all this, and I'm sorry to interject here, but I think it's important. Not every provider that is available is going to be willing to work with you right off the bat. I'll give you an example. MoonPay, right? I seriously wanted MoonPay to be in that wallet before launch. It's just not going to be possible. Why? MoonPay is a pretty big, reputable company, and they do have some very, very stringent or strict requirements. It's like volume-wise, they need this to be this. So they've got some strict rules. So some of those providers we hope to be able to add as time goes on, but there will be several right off the bat. So, which Steve could attest to. He's testing them right now.
Yeah, it depends on how much you buy. Sometimes if you just do the absolute bare minimum, There's one provider, but if I would say that was, not the norm. I'd say I've seen at least two or three on some. So there's a lot of options, but it does tell you which one is the cheapest option, which is great. You can have choice, right? I agree with Cody. He's
Moon
talking about
question.
MoonPay.
Which is what I was going to say. Well, MoonPay, as far as my experience, they're by far the best. They're the fastest. They're the most secure. Absolutely. I hate them, however, because they're the most expensive. I mean, their fee is what, 4.7% or something? It's massive.
See, that's typically how they make their money, right? And similar to how Atlas Wallet was microtransactions, right? But what they do is they buy an allotment. They don't just buy on demand. They buy a large amount and then they
Yeah.
make the money on the individual fees.
On Trust Wallet, when you go to buy, uh, say BNB again, it shows you the providers of and the amount of BNB that you will receive. But there is one thing hidden that just got brought up that I would like to know if it's possible to show in a wallet the fees that these people will charge and rearrange um, the value based upon the fees plus the amount of coin that you will receive.
That's an interesting question.
Uh,
I don't know if
You
Cody
mean
can
Trust
speak to
Wallet
that.
fees?
No, the provider's fees, like MoonPay charges you an arm and a leg. So maybe MoonPay is actually, although usually they give you the most BNB in my example, but maybe they are the most expensive one because because your BNB that you get is so much less than maybe some of the others because of the fee. Am I
Right. You mean
explaining
making
that?
that more clear? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Sorry, Cody, you're kind of cutting in and out.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me? So
Oh,
sorry if I
I
was
hear you
cutting
now. Yeah,
off.
you're broken up real bad. Yeah, go ahead. I can't hear you now, but go ahead and try again.
I think you're still cutting off, Cody.
Yeah, fortunately. Bar, did you want to jump in and say something?
Yeah, I heard you summon me earlier. I'm trying to assemble a trampoline right now, so I wasn't able to jump on. What was the question?
It was about the crypto control video, right, with Sam and Paul, and I wanted to know if you had a particular feeling about it. Was there anything that you really liked about it? Was there anything like you're like, oh wow, this is really interesting?
I'm trying to remember it. I watched it. I'm trying to remember what things stood out there. I don't know. You caught me off guard.
No, that's okay. And we didn't even have to sing.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you great now.
I'm sorry if you heard me curse a second ago. The audio was being finicky again. Did you hear me? Did y'all hear that?
No, didn't hear it.
Okay, because I totally did. I'm glad you didn't hear that. Sorry if I was
You
cutting
were
anyone off. I
totally,
had no idea.
you were totally dead.
Good. That's good. That's very good. Trust me.
Cody,
I apologies if I cut anyone off there. I can't. When it starts doing that weird lag thing on the Twitter Spaces, I don't know if I'm maybe talking over someone. I'm so sorry if I was.
So just to reiterate, CWP had the question if it's possible, if it's was on anybody's radar going forward for after the release, if there's going to be an option to view payment providers and sort by who charges the most. CWP, if I'm wrong about that, please let me know.
Yeah, I did hear that. So I just wanted to make sure I was clear on his question. And if I may just reiterate to make sure I am clear, are you asking if there's a way to have it categorized from like lowest to highest, cheapest to costliest? Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I got you. Good question. I don't know. I mean, right now those wallets categorize them to who's the best deal. So I would imagine the answer to that is yes. It just comes down to how it's probably set up on the back end. Hey, show us who gives you the most BNB, or show us who's the cheapest. It would be one of the two, right?
You know
Or
what's the
couldn't
funny
it,
thing?
yeah, or could it be joined together?
That would be cool. I mean, could there be an option to do that in a wallet? Yeah, probably. It would just take some development on the back end. I don't see why there couldn't. They're obviously giving you the option right now. Hey, show us what gives you the most coin. Cool. Put them in this order. Great. Okay. Well, I'd like to flip the switch to the other side and see which one is the cheapest. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I'm sure they could be done.
Cody,
So
let me just say this. You know what's the funny thing if you think about it? I think I know the reason why most wallets don't do that. And I think the reason is because if you do that, and
Yeah.
categorize them by cheapest to most expensive, you know where I'm going with it.
Yep. Yes,
They're
I
going to
do.
be pissed. They're not going to like that.
You're making me lose money.
Yeah,
Good.
Take
Change
100%.
your fees.
take the people's money.
So I had
Transparency.
a total I need Atlas wallet story today.
I think Bard is having the
Um,
same audio issues as us. I'm telling you, me and this dude were like related in a past life or something. It's so funny.
can you hear me?
Bard, I'm sorry, buddy. Can't hear
Can
you.
you hear Bard, Cody?
I can hear you.
No.
I can hear you.
So it's just me. Oh,
Oh, I
dang.
just wanted to tell you about my I really needed Atlas wallet today story.
He needs
This
an
morning,
Atlas wallet today's story. Are you going to tell one?
I can't hear him.
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
He's
Go ahead.
speaking right now.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
leaving. I'll be right back. I'm tired of this audio.
So here's the story. This morning I wanted to get into Ethereum. I have never bought an Ethereum coin in my life. I've always been a BNB guy, right? So I went into not knowing what I'm doing. A lot of you veterans are going to laugh at me for this, but I went into Pancake and, I swapped some BNB for some ETH, and here it is, and waiting in my wallet, and transaction was approved, and I'm not getting any Ethereum. I'm thinking to myself, well, where is it? So after a bit of thumbing around, I found out, oh, I've got wrapped ether. What the heck is wrapped ether? Okay, so I started doing some research, and it's a BEP20 coin. It's wrapped ether. I get it. So I'm digging around how I turn this into regular ether. And I am finding all kinds of sketchy websites and everything else that I'm not willing to connect to. And I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to turn this into Ethereum? Am I going to have to go to some other exchange and buy Ethereum? I have no idea what I'm doing at this point. So I reached out to Rocket, and I said, can I ask you a newbie question? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. I said, how do I turn wrapped ether into Ethereum? He said, Atlas wallet. I'm like, yeah, I don't have it today. How do I do it? It's like, well, you got to go to an exchange, and that does cross chain and whatnot. So I went and did some more searching, researching, and probably 2-3 hours went by, and I'm looking at different things, and I'm just fed up with it. And I ended up just keeping the wrapped ether in my wallet. And I'm thinking to myself, I need Atlas wallet. I need it now. I need to do this cross chain swapping.
Yeah, I mean, what you need is an aggregator. That's it. And Atlas Wallet will have an aggregator to do that cross-chain swap. So there are plenty of aggregators out there, but that's what you need.
I remember the first time I tried to dabble with ETH, and I was on Polygon at the time. So Polygon's ETH layer 2 blockchain, so I thought it would be somewhat straightforward. And I had some Matic, and so I'm like, okay, how do I get this to ETH? So you had to or convert that to wrapped ETH. And then, okay, I have wrapped ETH, but that's still in the Polygon chain. How do I get this to the Ethereum blockchain? Well, you have two options. Like Cody said, you can use an exchange, and I'm like, nah, screw exchange. Or you can use a bridge. I'm like, okay, that's for me. I'm going to use the bridge. And that's when reality hits you, because I was trying to transfer $75 worth of wrapped ETH, and the fee to use the bridge was $325. So,
you're negative 200 something bucks.
son of a gun, how much?
Yeah,
Come on.
I'm just
ridiculous.
thinking about the complication of all this crap. Sorry, my French, but I'm thinking about all the complication of all this stuff. And, you know, uh, if I think I know what the Alice wallet is going to give us and the features that it's going to give us, It's going to be a real game changer for idiots like me that don't know what we're doing. You know, if you make it so simple that we don't have to know, oh, you got to go to a bridge, you got to have an arbitrator or whatever. You know, if you simplify it, you're going to make a lot of dough off of fees.
Yeah, two things really quick, Bard. Number one, Bard's like the opposite of an idiot. So just want to put that out there. He's the opposite of an idiot. Number two, Bard, shame on you for calling yourself that. Number two, Atlas Wallet will use an aggregator for the cross-chain swap. That's all it is. Like you could go to like Changely right now. I think it was called Changely, right? Was it called Changely? You go to OpenOcean, etc. All aggregators that would do this, right? So the goal is for Atlas Wallet to have an aggregator that is reputable and able to do this across multiple chains. And yeah, that's why Rocket said Atlas Wallet, because that's the goal. We have an aggregator that will be able to do this across many, many, many chains. So if you got wrapped ETH, you want to swap it over to whatever, there you go.
All of
Well,
it.
I
That's what
will
it
be
comes down
once
to.
once the Atlas wallet comes out. I'm going to be a customer.
I feel you, man. I
Oh
accidentally
yeah.
one time bought like, it was like a token launch. A friend of mine had a token he was launching. I was like, I'll buy on the token launch the day of, and I accidentally I'm like watching the countdown for release. Right, boom, it's released. I go to buy, and of course, I guess I was a few seconds early and ended up buying this platform's like what's called bakery token, and I'm like, why did I get all these bakery tokens? Like, oh, you must have just bought it too fast. And then I'm like, damn it, I got to like sell this bakery token back, buy the the token I'm trying to buy. And of course, I got way less than I would have within the first couple of minutes of it launching, and yeah, so I've been there. It's rough sometimes.
Cody Bard, neither one of you are stupid, but you have just hit on the, in my opinion, hugest, biggest, most difficult problem of crypto acceptance. Um, Even intelligent people are lost in this world of what is a BEP 20 versus how do I swap one into another. It is so difficult and so convoluted and
Yeah.
so non-intuitive that it keeps people away.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a great point. I mean, and that's just that. There are so many other aspects to this. Like, let's just say we were getting into ERC 721 versus ERC 1155 for platforms, right? And token standards. Like, this goes on forever. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, these kind of things, even for experienced people, are difficult. I think we said this earlier in the spaces. So what do we say, Steve? It's something like, every single day I learn multiple new things about this whole space. It's really wild.
And I think it's people take it for granted. Like when something is really easy, when you go on the internet, there's always in the back of your mind that okay, there could be this potential danger, right? But when you're talking about crypto now you're like, you got a heightened sense of awareness, and the adrenaline's going because have I ever used this before? You're Bart was saying, just making calls. Hey, how do I do this, right? This is all in app. You're not going to any sketchy site. It's already been approved, trusted, it's integrated. So you're literally in the app, in Atlas Wallet, doing the cross-chain swap. It's all right there.
So
So
CWP took the words out of my mouth, Steve. He's so correct. He is so correct. This complexity in crypto is by far, the biggest hindrance to adoption. Because, and like Bart said, Bart, we're not stupid people. And that's totally incorrect. Most of us are somewhat seasoned crypto traders, and yet it is so incredibly complex and difficult that even us don't know what to do, let alone someone new in the space. That has to change. That is a big, big problem.
Think about this too. Like, how long did the Wild West, for example, I use this as a metaphor, how long was the Wild West around? Like, half a century, longer maybe, half a century to a whole century. I mean, we're in the very beginning stages of crypto. It is literally the beginning of the Wild West. How long has crypto been around? 2007? You
yeah,
can't even
2000.
count.
Yeah.
2009, I think.
Yeah, you can't even count that. I mean, you can really start to count it in maybe 5, 6 years later. Okay. Now it's becoming a little more popular. Public knows and has heard this word. People are involved versus like that select few deep underground, you know.
So you're right. I mean, it's been a thing. Crypto's been a thing for how long? Not even 15 years.
Yeah,
So you
but
are absolutely correct about that. I've had parts that have lasted 3 times that long. Okay, so it hasn't had
exactly.
that long.
Yeah, it's like
But
it's
sure.
like it's like if you're talking about the universe and you're studying, you know, the universe. I mean, the distances and the time involved is minuscule. 15 years in crypto is a second in the overall picture of it. It really is, right? It's just like when you're looking at planetary evolution or something like that, right? I mean, a billion years is a drop in the bucket. It's a blink of an eye. You know, so we're in the very beginning stages. 15 years is a second. It's like dog years. Let's put it that way. Maybe that's even easier to understand. 1 year in a dog's life, 1 year in a human's life is 7 years in a dog's life, right? Crypto years, I equate to that. It's like 15 years in crypto is like 1 year, or vice versa.
When crypto finally becomes, easily accessible and easy to work with, I'll probably be like 85.
Dude, we will
PFP were the
all,
days.
yes, we will all be very old, and our grandchildren will be living in this world where everything is connected to a blockchain and run off blockchain technology. And when I say everything, let's talk about it real quick. I'm talking telecommunications, banking system, hopefully, right? Things like finance, things like the medical record system. All of those things need to become blockchain oriented, and I think they will. And I think that's ultimately the goal. But the question is going to be: is how's it going to play out? You know, is it going to play out in the sense that it's beneficial for humanity? Is it going to play out in the sense that it's a murky area? Is it going to play out in the sense that it's not beneficial for humanity? I don't know, but I will say that things like telecommunications, in 10 years, when 5G infrastructure starts to develop into that next infrastructure, it takes about 10 years every time that happens, 4G to 5G, et cetera. All of those things become more and more and more, hopefully, blockchain oriented to be run off those things for efficiency, for all of it, right? I think efficiency is the right word there without having to elaborate. So, the medical coding system, telecommunications, banking system, right? Those are three like the biggest ones globally that I think over time we're going to see start to be incorporated into blockchain. So by the time, yes, we're 80, I personally am hoping to live to 100 years old. I want to be 100 years old and like rocking out and doing my thing. And that's my goal. So at that point, if I have great grandchildren, I think about it a lot. And I think about like, wow, you know, their whole world is going to be so different than ours. But I guess that is the same for our grandparents too. Like my grandmother's still alive, and I love her. She's the greatest person on the planet. When I talk to her, I like to ask her questions about this. I'm like, hey, so when's the first time you remember watching TV or using a telephone? And, you know, we're all from Texas, and so she grew up out in the country, and she talks a lot about, like, well, you know, that's a good question because out on the farm, we didn't have a telephone until I was like 20 years old. Like, wow, so when were you born? She's like, oh, I was born in 1930, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Or whatever she was born, 1940, I don't know. So it's just interesting because I guess it's going to be like that, right? Like we're going to be. I think you understand what I'm trying to articulate here. It's going to be just like that, but the kids, the
Yeah.
grandkids, they're going to grow up in this totally different world, and we'll see how it plays out, right?
Yeah, and I think, when you talk to people today about crypto and they glaze over because they don't understand it, we're, like you said, we're so early. And there's always this early adopters that that get into the space and all that stuff, and eventually it does become mainstream. It's gonna be. I hope I live to be 102 and see all of this happen.
You're all pioneers in this.
Exactly.
Think about
Yeah.
that. You are
Yeah.
all literal pioneers in this.
I want to get to 100 years old and have a new hip made purely of Bitcoin.
Dude, I'm telling you, I want to be able to tell my grandkids one day, yeah, just here's my card. Head on down to the store and get you whatever you need there. Just use that crypto card. It's like,
That would be awesome. Person and Christopher, I'm going to bring you up. Michael's been so patient. Michael Garber, how you doing, man?
Hi guys, how are you?
Very, very well. How you doing?
Fine. It's like 2 a.m. here, so mostly I'm sleeping. So I want to answer to CWP's question, but meanwhile I put a screenshot there. So in this moment on Trust Wallet there is a minimum less than $7 that you can purchase.
And I think in the US it is right around 50, I believe,
Yeah,
when I purchase. Yeah, so that's a big difference.
yeah, which is cool though. I mean,
Yeah.
50 is
Also,
great. 7 is great. Just depends where you are too.
somewhere in European Union. Also, there are occasions when MoonPay, I use MoonPay, they cut the fees. Like 30 minutes ago, I bought some BNB. Now I tried again. Now I have to pay the fees. So I think there is an algorithm, but I can understand it.
It's probably when the blockchain's really busy, kind of like with Bitcoin. There's optimum times to do a transaction, and
Oh, I
then
see. Yeah, you might be
not
right.
optimum. So my guess is they're evaluating when the network's under high usage, and therefore there's a higher probability of like maybe delays or something like that. And of course, they want to probably deliver your crypto as quickly as possible.
Wouldn't it be nice to be able to see the network and know exactly when the best time to buy is?
Oh gosh, yeah. I
It's
don't.
funny.
I don't think they'd ever let that happen though. It would be
I'm
nice.
hunting those moments.
It was funny. I did Paul asked me to do a cross chain for BTC, and he said wait because there was a message in Trust Wallet that said the Bitcoin network is under basically high usage and try again later or something like that.
I've seen that before. Yeah. Michael, how are you doing? Question for you, really quick. So, are you and Maruka preparing for some launches for LunaSky full launch?
Yes, we do.
I have a few questions for you, if I may, really quick. That'd be okay?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Have you two ever used a different platform?
Yes, I used crypto.com,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
Foundation. Uh, I
So,
tried something on Cardano, but didn't work well. But mostly we start on crypto.com and we made quite a good money there.
this is really interesting. I ask you this for a very specific reason. Just like MoonAndroid, you clearly have had experience using a traditional ERC 721 platform. What are the differences you've noticed between using the traditional ERC 721 platform and just the beta version of LunaSky? Are there any big differences that stood out to you right off the bat? And I don't mean functionality in the sense of bugs and things like that, but obviously I preface this by saying the ERC 721 multiple times because the beta version is not ERC 721. It's ERC 1155. And there's a
Yeah, I
very
use
big
that on
yeah.
OpenSea too.
Yeah, and there's a very big difference between that and a traditional ERC 721 platform. So, from you being a tenured user, what are some of the big differences you've noticed?
Oh, I never thought on these differences. Actually, we stayed here because we saw that was at the beginning, and the most important thing it was the community.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
think
because
that was the main reason, the community.
I got you.
yeah, because the ERC 721 community, right?
Right.
And especially with NFT, it's the oldest. It's the oldest of. They're all, how do I put this? They all know each other. They all kind of, protect each other and help each other. It's a very tight knit community, and you really can't break in just like that. Um, as far as the actual standard, 1155 is superior. Period. There's nothing to be said there, with the exception of 721 is slightly more secure. But other than that, it's an inferior standard.
That's interesting. You know, and this is
We
kind of what
never
I
thought
was
on
wondering.
technical things.
No,
No, never.
I got you. Yeah, this is interesting because these are some of the things Rocket and myself have really been mulling over the past couple of weeks. Is really the differences between like ERC 1155 and ERC 721, because all the traditional platforms are ERC 721. So essentially, let's just break this down really quick, if we may. And I asked this specifically to you two because you're both very experienced on other platforms, which were ERC 721 platforms from the get go. Moon, you specifically said though, like one of the only big differences that you really noticed or really think about in comparison to the two is just the security aspect. Is that right?
Yeah, because essentially the it's very simple. It's a
Yeah.
simpler standard than 1155. 1155 has more features. Obviously, the more complex and the more feature rich something is, the less secure it is. That's basically what it boils down to.
Sure. Yeah, and 1155 essentially everyone supports like an endless number of tokens within a single contract is the way to really just describe this simply. And ERC 721, which is really the platform standard for NFT platforms, is the deployment of a new contract for each type of token. I mean, all that means is like every time you create a collection or you mint, it's a new contract versus what you're used to on something like the beta being 1155, where it's an endless number of tokens or mints, right, within a single smart contract. So I've been very curious, so has Rocket lately, to just kind of hear people's experience or people who have experienced other platforms, if they notice a difference between using a platform that is 721 based, which is pretty much all of them. Let's be real about it. That's pretty much all of them. Do you have the option for ERC 1155 on some of them now? You do. Moon, you said something really interesting, though. You said that you think 1155 is superior. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. First of all, not only is it faster, at least from personal experience, when it comes to transferring, honestly, everything, transferring NFTs, minting NFTs, 1155 is just faster, period. The gas fees are much lower for it. Let's see, it supports multi-mint, something that 721 does not support. But again, that's another reason why 721 is more secure. And it's basically what you said, the fact that you got to do a new contract every single time, whereas that's not the case with 1155. Is it, is 1155 superior in my eyes? Yes. Is it the best standard? No, we'll probably have newer, better standards, even with, newer features on top of that will come out eventually. But I feel 720, the only reason you have 721 at this stage, even in the popularity contests, 1155 wins by a wide margin. There are so many more NFTs that are 1155 than 721 nowadays.
You think so?
For all these reasons. Oh yes, I have no doubt. The most popular collections use 721, but that's because they're older.
Right.
But as far as the total amount of NFTs and collections, 1155 wins by a wide margin. Polygon is a great example of that.
Yeah. And I mean, with the traditional ERC 721, I mean, it supports the creation of NFTs, but the 1155 supports also the creation of fungible and semi-fungible token. So, I mean, I understand that aspect of it. It's interesting to me now, especially being so involved with the building of a marketplace, how these two things came into play, right? And it's kind of like the beta is strictly built off an 1155 platform, but traditionally, if you want to open this up to bigger projects, more tenured projects that have been around for a very long time, it's important to be able to have, I think, the ability for both. This is something we've started to come across. So I was really curious what, especially some tenured folks like yourselves' thoughts were on this. So I appreciate you sharing.
One positive thing I think is that you can edit after you mint the NFT
On 1155?
on LunaSky.
Yeah, 1155. Yep.
Yeah, that's because of what, Michael, that's because of what Cody just said. That's because 1155 supports what you can call soft minting, basically a semi-fungible token. which is basically the process of creating an NFT, but it is not a full NFT yet. So that means it still retains that editability. And you can create it and you'll see it on your screen, but it is not a full NFT yet. It only becomes a full-fledged NFT once you freeze the metadata. That will create a transaction that will go to the blockchain and send the image and the token to the IPFS servers. So only after you freeze the metadata does it actually become a non-fungible token. Of course, it's easier
Yeah, I
because
understand now that, but
yeah,
I didn't know it before. So anyway, it's still a good thing because let's say you put their NFT in this, let's say, beta version, and then if you make a mistake, you can correct it. And when you decide everything is okay, you will freeze the metadata.
Yeah, and both of those are great points. Moon is 100% right, but I like where you're coming from, Michael, because, yeah, being able to go in and edit is great. There are benefits to both, everyone. That's something that should be understood. I mean, the 721 platform, which I didn't really know until not too long ago, right? That, yes, there are some very strategic and specific reasons why some of these older projects and even some new projects still prefer to create the collection on that. They get to launch a proper collection with a proper time frame, almost like an auction in a lot of ways. But the 1155 allows for some additions that you can't do on 721. So I think there is a place for both of these. I really, really do. What do you two think? Do you think there's a place for both of these? Or do you think one of them's obsolete at this point?
I mean, I've said my opinion on everything, starting from the ease of use, the fact that you don't have to know coding, the fact that it's faster, the gas fee is so much cheaper. I only see benefits with 1155. Personally, I see no reason whatsoever to go to 721 unless you want to go and sell to that older 721 community and be part of that. And usually they're very wealthy community. Let's put it that way. And that's where the real money
Yeah.
is. You know. But other than that, I see no reason to. I really don't. Even as far as dynamic NFTs, which honestly both supported 721 and 1155.
Uh-huh.
But I see no reason why to go with 721 instead of 1155.
Nice. I like it. Thanks for sharing it. What do you think, Michael?
Well, I agree with Moon. We also tried to put some NFTs, and we succeeded finally on Ego, around, around. So there was a little bit hard. Pinata and, entire process. We put like a 10K collection, and when we uploaded, we saw that a few of them they are not there. So I don't know, we are not skillful enough, or it's just hard to do it.
Yeah.
Here's another one, Cody, real quick.
Yeah.
Another benefit of 1155 ERC versus 721, with NFTs in particular, if you send an 1155 NFT or token to the wrong wallet or a wrong address, there is a safe transfer feature where you can get that NFT back. That is simply impossible with 721. Once you make the mistake, that's it. You're screwed.
Yeah, that's true. It's locked in at that point. You can't revert. Yeah, that's good. That's interesting. I've been wanting to ask you guys about this. It just kind of happened to come out right now. So thanks. Good stuff. Glad to talk about it.
Got me really interested in the concept of a semi-fungible token. I don't know if you can speak to that at all, or how can something be semi?
It's basically not on the blockchain yet. That's basically what it means. It's like a temporary token, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Essentially, too, like it's really a fairly recent innovation. Honestly, semi-fungible. That's not something that's been around a long time. What was it? And correct me if I'm wrong here. Solano, didn't they start doing that? Like having the option for semi-fungible was like basically, they even have, I think, a ticker for it, don't they? Just like an abbreviation, SFT or something, some semi-fungible token.
I think
Combining,
so.
yeah, something about like combining, characteristics of the fungible token. So I thought that was like fairly recent, and Solana was kind of one of the first people to do it. I could be totally wrong. I'm just trying to pull through the
But
memory
see,
bank here.
right, but see, that's why I meant, ERC 721 is slightly more secure because, again, less features. You can
Yeah,
imagine that by using the 1155 standard, by sending an NFT to someone and then withdrawing that back, you can scam some people with that sort of feature, if you get my idea, where 721, you simply can't. That's not going to happen. So it is a little bit more secure. That being said, the most valuable NFTs and collections are all on 721. They're the oldest, right?
yeah,
Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks, et cetera, et cetera. Some are worth upwards of $100,000 per NFT. Some of them have gotten hacked, and that's true. And you can think, oh, okay, then 1155 is safer because 1155 never gets hacked. That's true, but it's still not safer. The reason they get hacked is because they're worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you could imagine the attention on them
yep,
on those wallets is much, much higher than any other.
yeah. The risk versus reward is there for that type of person to be able to investigate compromising it. Otherwise, they don't have enough money to put into investigating compromise. I think we talked about this on Spaces, not necessarily in regard to NFT, but just compromising in general. The H word, the heck word. Uh, Back to 1155 for a second, though. Like, I mean, okay, so I'm just trying to think of the best way to articulate it. So basically, multi-token management transactions, right? That's 1155. The whole semi-fungible token thing too. You do see now, and I guess because it's fairly recent innovation in gaming, metaverse stuff. You do That's where you see it. From what
Like
I have seen,
avatars. I think avatars and
right,
domain
right.
like unstoppable and tickets and something like that. I know.
That's right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's where I've learned about it so far, and I don't know a lot about this, but what I've seen and learned about it is gaming, metaverse. That's where you're seeing a lot of these SFTs, if you want to call them that. So,
Yeah, I bought a domain from Unstoppable, and that was the first time I saw.
cool. Yeah, super interesting.
I think I read an article about Formula One and NFT ticketing. It was really interesting. Just kind of part of it, but there's so much potential for. I know we've talked about this before with NFT ticketing and the idea concept of that you can't necessarily how would you say, like, duplicate, or I mean everything can't be hacked to a certain point, but with the difficulty level at some point it has to be kind of like, okay, it's not really worth it, right? For at least for ticketing anyway. So where people scalp tickets and all that stuff. So
Right, exactly, and it depends. I mean, again, if you have, regardless if your NFTs are 721 or 1155 or a mixture of both, it doesn't matter. The reality is, if you hold even one, let's say, a Bored Ape NFT in your wallet, at the very least, at the very bottom, the floor price of that is at least $80,000, if not more. So already the attention you have on your wallet and the potential to get hacked is vastly higher just because of the worth that you have sitting there, right? So, yeah, there's really nothing that you can do about that.
yeah, I imagine wallets like that are subject to all kinds of creative attacks, dusting, everything, in order to get access to that wallet, because you're just a target, right? Christopher, thanks for being so patient. Go ahead.
Yeah, there is again a question. Again about utilities and when they are released. In the moment when they are released, about buyback and burn, I'm asking. It would mean, in other words, yes, strategically burning. Okay, understood. The question is here more. We all want an increasing EverGrow market price. Yes, this is Sam's goal. This is our goal. Why we are invested. The question of the question is in this moment. Is not the risk given that the coin cannot increase because, for example, it needs too long till something is coming to buy back and burn? This is here the question in which time frame still this is for me. I would like to for the whole community.
So ultimately, go ahead, Cody, if you want to jump in on that.
Please go ahead, Steve.
The value of any token is really dictated by a very few things, right? Circulating supply, obviously, if people are FOMOing in and, there's all kinds of hype around a project. Obviously the blockchain that it's on, where it is, if it's on a DEX or a centralized exchange, or all of these things come into play, right? And there's no perfect recipe, otherwise people would have replicated that over and over and over. There really seems to be kind of some secret sauce that's going on. Like, why did one project that looks like really good take off or not take off versus one that has zero utility and absolutely took off, right? So number one, circulating supply, that's going to determine value. And speaking of EverGrow alone, the buyback and burn is going to lower the circulating supply, which increases rewards, and therefore there's less tokens to go around. So therefore, when people do buy, it has more effect on the price. People getting into the project for the reasons like we talk about. It's an investment, passive income. Is this a traditional DeFi project? No, absolutely not. It's a project that is got its roots in traditional finance, but it's delving into something entirely different, right? We're having a DeFi project that's actually making its own money through different avenues. I think that's really unique. And I think people, when they get it, they're going to be like, okay, wow, this is something really different. We have a fully doxed team. We've got everything. Everything is right. We just need the momentum, right? And deliver on those deliverables. So as far as Lucro goes, I see Lucro as just this little beast that's just waiting to go. 100 billion circulating supply. That's it. It's right now, it just doesn't have the legs yet because the utilities haven't been launched. Once the utilities are launched and people use Lucro, then it's going to be a different animal altogether. So unleash the beast.
But the profits what this utility generates, this is for sure paid out to all. Yes, this is sure. But the thing is only in this moment. Okay, the coin burning itself. Yes, we have to get this 400 trillions burned down. Yes, that the coin value can increase. The question is in this moment. Okay, it's not we are all in the interest that the value of everything, also of EverGrow and of Lucro, is increasing. Lucro by using, EverGrow by holding. Alone by the fact, yes, about utility shall burn EverGrow. Okay, if they burn it, then it's a question in this moment again. Okay, statistically would mean in this moment we collect a certain amount and then we give it to burn. From which moment on we can speak about an increase in market value of EverGrow? And this is my question here, what I ask now further. Thank you for answering the questions furthermore. Thank you.
No, it's great. Thank you. And so the strategic buyback and burn, right? We saw this a few months back where the team was every hour, pretty much almost on the hour, there was a number of tokens that were being bought and basically burned, right? There was a reason for that. And it worked very, very well. We saw a divergence where BNB was going down, EverGrow relationship was going up. We were one of the only green projects in DeFi. So there's a reason that it was done that way. It wasn't just a massive burn all at once. And I don't think, that 400 trillion needs to be burned. I mean, because you've got to think everybody's holding these tokens. They're not like in a piggy bank somewhere waiting to be bought. They're literally in the hands of the holders. So people would have to give up their tokens at some point. Yeah, there's so much in liquidity and all that, but people are going to have to sell. And at what point does it where people are like buying and selling, the prices going up and there's just less and less to go around? There's a magic number out there and I don't know what that number is. Is it 100 trillion? Is it 200? I really don't know. I think ultimately the value will be given by the project delivering on utilities. Once people see that it's a project that's actually making a profit, and who knows, Sam maybe might say, you know what, buyback and burn right now is not the smartest thing. Why don't we just do buyback and reward? Just off the top of my head. I'm not saying he will, but it's options, right? He's made it very clear that the project exists to support the holders, right? This
Yes.
is, I mean, he's always come at it from that angle. I want to do the community right. And as long as you know he's going to do that, he's going to make these choices very, very wisely and strategically.
What is realistic? That the current EverGrow price has 7 zeros. So when we get already 3 zeros away and we have 400 trillion coins, do you know what kind of market value this is? Even if it's going to 3 zeros. Yep. Then in this moment, we are speaking about a money amount that is unbelievable high, even higher than
Yeah, but
Bitcoin market.
you could you can do the math on that. Market cap is really just a function of circulating supply and price, right? So I mean, 3 zeros 5. I mean, we're talking about big dollars. I mean, we're talking over 100 billion, right? So to be in that kind of market cap realm, I mean, you saw an all-time high. We were at 3 point, what were we, 3 point, was it 3 point something billion market cap, or was it 1.5? Cody, do you
Well,
remember?
five.
I think it was 1.5, I think.
1.5, yeah.
Yeah,
But that
exactly.
was that's a Herculean move. That was a ton of I don't remember what the volume was looking like, but I mean it was crazy. It was crazy volume. But
Yeah, I mean,
that
we're speaking of from going from what did he say, from 7 zeros to 3 zeros? That's an insane. Not that it can't happen, especially as time goes forward. We'll definitely reach it, but as of right now, that is an insane jump. And all these sorts of questions of asking. First of all, none of us have it as a crystal ball, right? We all want to know the future, but none of us. This is all speculation at the end of the day. But secondly, it's the sort of question that will be better asked once the utilities are out, because the reality is right now we're building, and nothing's happening because we're building, and that's the same thing in any project that is building anything. We're in the quiet period. We're right at the peak. We're about to launch, but we're not there yet. So I would say just be patient for a little bit longer until the utilities are released and post marketing is released too. I assume that's when the marketing is going to be, dialed at a 10 out of 10. Would make sense that would be after the utilities launch, and then maybe you can start talking about this and doing some math and see where we're going. As of right now, any type of speculation we do is simply not going to be accurate because we're in the building period.
7 zeros to 3. Is my math correct? That's a 10,000 time jump.
Pretty much.
yeah, and what would the market cap be CWP for let's say 3 zeros 5 roughly?
Way above my ability to do in my head.
But it's suffice to say that we would be in the top 10 if that were to happen. Um, Even to be in the top 100 crypto would be an enormous achievement. And it wouldn't surprise me if that is really the goal. I mean, I know Sam has said top 50, if I'm not mistaken, going by memory, don't quote me. But to be the top 100 would be an enormous achievement for a DeFi project. So I think that's an attainable goal, 100%. Really, it's going to have to be a combination of releasing utilities, marketing it very well, and then getting the exposure out there. And people talk when they're making money, right? People don't necessarily want to pitch their grandma about EverGrow when it's down, 80% from all-time high. So just wait till we start getting momentum. And I really think it's going to build momentum. And I think you got a couple things going for you. You got Lucro, which it could potentially really take off. And, EverGrow, Lucro is an EverGrow project. So, it could really just kind of dovetail really well.
And
One thing I can.
something interesting. Let me just say this. I was speaking on Facebook yesterday, and there was a holder that was frustrated about the current state of EverGrow and specifically the price, and I can understand that. Again, we're in the building period, so we have to understand that. But I can see where he's coming from, and like him, I would assume many other holders. But he gave me comparisons to how EverGrow is doing and compared to other coins and tokens. And the comparisons he gave me was that he invested in Bitcoin, that he invested in Ethereum, that he invested in Cardano, that he invested in Doge, and those have done more and gone up in price far more when compared to EverGrow. I have to be honest. I dislike these sort of comparisons for two reasons. First of all, that's not DeFi. Right off the bat, you're comparing apples to bananas. That's not DeFi. But second of all, and most importantly, the youngest project that he mentioned in that list that he gave me is Cardano. The youngest is Cardano. Cardano launched 6 years ago in 2017. I'm sorry, but you cannot compare EverGrow that is 1.5 years old to a project that is 6 years old, let alone Bitcoin that is 15 years old. And so the expectations that we have to match those expectations to the time that we've had to build. And the time that we've had to build compared to those projects is negligible by comparison. It is nothing, especially in the world of tech. And it's something that annoys me slightly because everybody thinks that, building LunaSky, building Crater, building the Atlas Wall, that's all easy. Other projects have done it. That's all easy. That takes 15 minutes. Yeah, everything takes 15 minutes until you actually try to do it. Okay, that's not true.
Well said. I got to follow up on that, if I may, Steve. Just well said. Thanks for saying it. It's just something that I think deserves being repeated many, many times out there. It is ignorant to sit there and compare the two. And to your point, Moon, exactly. It's like it's apples and oranges. It's Star Trek and Star Wars. There's no comparisons. They're two totally different things, and that goes back to the very beginning of the spaces today when we spent a lot of time talking, I think you weren't here yet, Moon, about people's perception, and how it's really based off just education about what they're talking about. They don't know, not their fault, right? You don't know what you don't know, but they don't know about a lot of these elements that are going on. So they will grab what they do know about and compare the two things when realistically that makes no sense. There is no comparison between those things, just like you're talking about. So I just want to echo chamber that. That's
it makes no sense. It really doesn't. You're right. And he gave me the idea. Oh, but Doge is, Doge is a good comparison. I'm like, how is Doge a good comparison?
No.
Doge came out in 2013, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What of your mind?
Yeah,
this goes into my favorite statement of surface level viewing. This is the surface level viewing of a project, an entity, a company, whatever. And that's just the unfortunate reality of it. A lot of folks are going to exist with their perception on the surface level. That's okay. We're all human, man. They don't know what they don't know. But they don't know any different. They don't know better than to not compare these things. They don't know better than to think about, companies have structure and they have employees. And sometimes people don't come to work. And sometimes people say they're good at something. It turns out they're not maybe the most reliable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So, again, surface level viewing.
We're also dealing with the instant millionaire mentality.
Yeah.
There are so many people that are looking at these numbers and expecting anything they buy to explode exponentially overnight, which is absurd. This is a business that's being built. Conventional business takes 3 to 5 years to become profitable, if it even survives that long. There is no patience among holders, sadly. I have an opinion. I won't hold your feet to this fire, Cody, but I honestly believe, and this is not advice, this is my own personal opinion, that EGC will do 100x by the end of 2024, if not long before. Just my thoughts. And if it doesn't, it's still going to explode.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I love that though. I really hope so. I think all of us would genuinely hope so. I think obviously, and something came to mind as soon as you started to reiterate the point there about the instant millionaire, etc. Two words come to mind here for me: microwave culture. I'm sure we've heard this, right? This is a fairly recent term. Microwave culture is what we live in now, and that's where everybody thinks instantaneous. It's like you put the microwave dinner in the oven, 3 minutes later, it's finished. There you go. And we live in a microwave culture. We live in a culture that is used to having access to everything at their fingertips, used to obviously the attention of that as well from having everything at their fingertips, social media, etc., information, etc. So they become entitled to these things a lot, and that's, I look at it on both sides of the table. It's human nature. I get it. I'm not hating on that. It's just about, back to Moon's point, managing expectations, So we have to manage that. We don't need to live in a microwave culture. That's not what this is. You can't expect instantaneous results from things that traditionally, CWP, to your point, take 3 to 5 years to develop. And that's if they even survive. And those are estimated numbers, building a business is just that. It's literally starting from nothing and working your way up, and there's a whole mountain ahead of you to overcome, and the majority of them don't make it. Businesses, not just
It's
crypto.
expectations. Cody's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I've played Pokemon ROM hacks that took longer than 1.5 years to develop. I'm sorry, but that's the reality.
There you go, man. Again, like, this is, it's just like such a microwave culture now. And it's a shame. It's a damn shame, everybody. It really is, because, there are a lot of people who can kind of see beyond that veil. But the problem is a lot of folks who come into, let's say, new areas in life, whether it be crypto or investing or whatever, that expectation and that entitlement of like instant gratification it's a problem, right? And we deal with those kind of problems every day in this space, specifically because of the when and the why and the surface level viewpoint of things, and the tunnel vision. But going back to their side of the table, not hating on them, just being objective about that's the reality of it. Okay, so what do you do about it? Well, number one, you don't always fight fire with fire. Knowledge is power. You try to educate, you try to lift people up. You do celebrate other successes. Don't put people down, don't put projects down, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the things I think that really separates how do I word this? I think that is what can really separate, I think, legitimacy from just another flash in the pan, if that makes sense,
And keep in mind too, like, I don't know if a lot of people paid much attention to, let's just use Pepe token for an example, right? So we saw a massive movement in a very, very short period of time. I think it like maybe a few weeks, right? But you think of, if you actually look a little bit deeper and all of those things that happen step by step by step, you can see, for instance, like the marketing was really, really well done. We had a lot of people on social media that were really kind of like pumping this thing. And then you saw marketplaces going, we can make a lot of money off of this. And they got like, it was like Moses, man, putting his staff in the Red Sea. And there's, no, typically to get on a centralized exchange, it's an act of, Congress almost. But they made it happen very fast. They knew there was money to be made and they were going to do it. And so keep in mind, when projects start to become successful and there's price movement, there's attention. Think of what happened to EverGrow back in 2021, right? There was a lot of momentum going on at one time and it got a lot of attention. So these things can happen again. But first you got to demonstrate that you can do the job. And with utilities, that's the big thing. Management, how is the project managed? How is the money managed? And as utilities making money. All of those things come together, and then it's kind of like a magic moment. I don't know, Cody, if you want to add to that.
Well, I agree with that, and I don't want to be an echo chamber to what you said. I agree. I think it's a great point. It does make me want to reiterate something I've said a couple of times. I try to say this more frequently on spaces because you never know who's in here and who's not. EverGrow specifically has obviously been around for a little while. We've survived. We're at the point now where we're looking to push beyond that and thrive, and it's like, yes, we've made mistakes. There have been a lot of learning curves for us. There's been a lot of acclimation periods. And I say this to really just preface the fact that, we're doing things now the way that we're doing them so that we don't continue to do things the way we were doing them. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, we made mistakes in the past. There were learning curves that we got through. We have learned a ton along the way, a lot from, we'll call it smart mistakes, right? But that's all part of developing the business and building a company. So the reason that we're doing everything the way we're doing it now is because of those things. And that's why we're approaching the things from building to the future of our marketing, and expanding the company into different areas of investing where, traditional investors can become savvy to what we're doing over here and not just the small niche crypto community. So, we do things now the way we do them because we've tried to learn from, what we did before. We cannot operate the same way we did in 2021 or we would not exist. And the goal is to certainly exist. So I just had to reiterate that. I've said it
And
before,
also going forward, do we, like Cody just said, and like the team has admitted multiple times to making mistakes, and that's just part of life, and part of development, and part of going forward. And another important thing to realize is, even now, there will be mistakes going forward.
yeah,
There will
exactly. Of
be
course.
prepared for that because that will happen. What matters is not the mistakes that are going to happen. What matters is how the team and the community are going to recover from that. How they're going to fix that. How they're going to evolve from those mistakes and move forward. That's what matters.
That's right. And we don't want to wake up in a position like a lot of companies have 5, 10, 15, 20 years later where they're paying for the sins of those past. Or they're paying for the sins of their past, right? I mentioned this earlier in the spaces too. Like I've worked for companies before where very big, reputable companies, and they are paying for the sins of their past, and that's affected the employees and down to the consumer. So, as a startup that's existed for 1.5 years, which in the grand scheme of things, well, let's just put it in again, you know, astronomy terms, it's nothing. It's a blink of an eye. The goal, of course, is not to repeat those types of things, learn from them, and do better going forward so that we don't ultimately end up paying for the sins of those past one day, which could in turn cause us to not even exist. Some companies can't, they go through bankruptcies, they go through a number of things to where ultimately they just can't keep the door open anymore, because they didn't try to rectify those things on the spot. Making the mistake is not, making the mistake is not the problem. Like Moon said, you're going to make mistakes. It's how you learn, but you got to learn from it going forward. And then, that's what we've really tried to focus on this year. Is like, okay, the past year, what did we do right? What did we absolutely do terribly wrong? Let's really try to take it from there, So that's really the goal.
And really think about it, right? Let me just give you one quick example, and then we'll move on. But let's say EverGrow would do what everybody wants it to do tomorrow. Okay, so let's for a second assume tomorrow EverGrow absolutely explodes for some stupid reason. I don't know. Elon Musk tweeted about it. Okay, and EverGrow explodes 10,000% tomorrow. And we're all rich, and it's all it's all over the headlines. It's everywhere. That and I've always been a defender of slow growth instead of quick, short, explosive growth like that. And I don't think, if you really think about it, I don't think that would be a good thing. And I don't think that would be a good thing because I think that would be a repeat of what happened in 2021. If that happened, just think about it. Where would we even turn? Oh God, it went 10,000%, overnight. Oh, who do we talk to? We're not listed on exchanges. Oh my God, we have so many messages. You know what I mean? We would absolutely not even in the slightest be prepared for something like that. So what would happen is we would see a huge pump again, and there it goes downhill again. We would not be able to sustain that. And that's, I think, is the most important thing, is that sustained growth that we want. We don't want a big pump to come back down again. We've been there. We don't want that.
Agreed. Longevity. At this point, it's what it's all about.
One of the things that I love so much about EverGrow is that the people involved in the corporation can admit making mistakes. Few companies do that. Few companies even recognize the value of the mistakes that they have made. But recently, a few days ago, the largest rocket ever fired off the planet Earth went up a few a few feet and exploded. And people were horrified by it. But the principal said they learned so much from that failure. And I see this in EverGrow, learning from the mistakes, learning from the failures. And that's why it's going to be a tremendous success, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's tough, when you make mistakes. There's, the ego is involved, and you want to protect yourself, and you want to never, not admit that whatever you did could have negatively affected investors. But I think in the long run, when you have that humbleness and be able to say, you know what, we didn't do this exactly how we planned, or it didn't trend exactly how we hoped. I think that just builds confidence in the project. You know what I mean? Because the humility goes a long, long way. So one thing I did want to mention real quick is I've mentioned crypto controls video. There's a reason why I said that. At the very end, I encourage you to listen to the whole thing. At the very end, um, Sam was asked the question by Crypto Control where we think this project, EverGrow, is in terms of development. And Sam had said that LunaSky and Atlas Wallet only represents 30% of what the team has in store for the EverGrow ecosystem. I want you to just let that sink in. 30%. We've got two major projects that we're working on right now, and that is only 30% of the big plan. So
So LunaSky and Atlas Wallet would constitute 30%. That's what he said.
LunaSky and Atlas Wallet represent 30% of the plan for EverGrow ecosystem.
That's insane.
Exactly. I don't know if you guys caught that too. I listened to it because yeah, and it was kind of pretty casual, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, well, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. It's like, because right now we're kind of hanging our head on this guy and Atlas Wall, and we're thinking this is going to be the moneymaker and all that stuff, and this is only 30%. Of course, plans change, and we have to be agile and be able to adapt and all that stuff. But I think it was a huge statement, and I don't think we should take that lightly
That
at all.
makes me curious on what his other 70% are, to be honest.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it. Um, the reason for him saying that is to enlighten everyone to the fact that there are other things coming in the pipeline. You don't know everything that we talk about, we plan, we discuss, we strategize. You know about LunaSky, you know about Atlas Wallet, you know about staking. You now even know, even though you probably weren't supposed to this quickly, but you even now know about Lucro gaming, right? There are other things beyond that you don't know. That's what he's talking about. And he's not exaggerating that. There are many other things that we want to do that are in the pipeline. It's important that we appropriate when they happen, of course, right? First things on the books, Luna and Atlas, 100%. Staking is going to be right there. Again, I predict it'll be Luna staking Atlas. That's going to be the order of it. Staking and Atlas could vary. It could be one of the other first. I think it'll be staking, but there are definitely other things coming, And once we get these things out, we get them stable, we get them functioning. We're going to at the right time take the next steps for the next couple of things that we want to do.
I had asked, I think was it Paul or Sam? I can't remember now. Once the contract for Brew Labs is done for Lucro staking, could we bring that in house? I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't if we're already offering EverGrow token staking on our website, and then we could take those fees and use them for something productive rather than give them to somebody else.
Yeah, we could. 100%. That's a very simple answer, but yes, could we take it in house? Sure, definitely could. Is the plan yet? We haven't finitely said so, but we have discussed it, so we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and it looks like who said this? Brian Evergrow said that 30% was stated as just in the next 2 years alone from my memory. I'm not sure if I didn't hear that part, but that would be very, very cool.
Yeah, the goal is to continue to build and innovate, right? It's not to just put a few things out and sit on them and then that's that. The whole purpose of EverGrow, obviously, at this point, is to continue to build into the future. It's not to say we have a set number of things that are coming out and then let's just let it ride, right? We want to constantly be innovating. We want to constantly be expanding. I think that's going to be really the key to success here. Well, not I, we think that's going to be the key to success here.
There's so many opportunities in the space to innovate. The limit is really your imagination. So as long as you guys keep doing what you're doing, keep talking, it seems like you guys come up with a lot of great ideas, just kind of bouncing things off the walls and solutions to problems. So just keep doing what you're doing. And that was actually my last. I'll let you finish, and then I'll ask my last question.
Well, I didn't want to say much. From what you just said, you're right, and I do want to preface though that it's not just us, right? I mean, a lot of these things. There's a lot of smart people out there, and it's like ideas that y'all have. We take those things very seriously. You come in, you provide feedback, you submit ideas. A lot of these things, we talk about internally very frequently. So keep them coming, everybody. It means a lot to us, and a lot of your ideas, just like we said earlier, you're pioneers of this space, and you're also pioneers of this project. So keep that stuff coming.
Yeah, Cody, I'll send you a T-shirt and an Omega NFT from my collection if you spill the beans on the 70%.
Well, very tempting, my friend. Wait, you know how I am about these
legendary?
Things. Legendary? Omega, maybe?
Omega, yeah. Omega. And a T-shirt.
I'll take an Omega and a T-shirt.
Or we can try hypnosis.
Or Michael can try to hypnotize me live on camera as an EverGrow event. Yeah, there we go.
So my last question, I've got to run pretty soon, but unless somebody has some questions, follow up they want to ask. But you guys, obviously you have, your own kind of lives and jobs and all that stuff. I always worry that sometimes, you guys work so hard. How do you stay energized? How do you stay rested, healthy, and still be able to do all the things that you're doing right now? Because you do have other jobs. So,
Red Bull.
Red Bull, I love it.
Pure will and determination. And what do they call it in some of the RPGs? Intestinal fortitude, is that what they call it?
Yeah, I can, based on hearing you guys talk, especially the other day, just you guys seem really determined and you got a vision, and it's great, and we're all thankful for it.
Well, we're all thankful for, everyone here. I mean, the community, the holders, everyone involved. Steve, I mean, you do spaces every weekend. You know what? This is what, number 40 maybe? What number is this?
Yeah, number 40. Yeah.
40, yeah.
There you go.
We done 40 of these.
I just totally guessed that. Right. Nice. Moon, that's a second Omega shirt for me because I guessed that. Yeah, I mean, gosh, this wouldn't exist the way it does without every single one of y'all. Community, holders, people like Steve doing spaces, people like Moon who's been so involved. I mean, every single person, doesn't matter if you're doing anything extra or you're just an investor, you're part of the community, you're part of the family. And that's what's important,
Don't underestimate what I'll do for leaks.
Yes, I know. You've been around a long time. I've known you a long time now. And I know you'll do just about anything released. But you know me, too. You know that I don't leak. You can't get it out of me. You have to call Paul. And then I'll get on to him. So if you call him, just warn him that I'm going to yell at him.
I suggest right around 12:30. He's just waking up from naps around that time, so he might spill the beans. I don't know.
If y'all make him spill the beans, I'm going to be very upset with y'all. He can't help himself, y'all. Cut him some slack. Cut him some slack, man. He can't help himself, man. Don't y'all take advantage of that from him, because you know who I'm going to come after? I changed my mind. I'm not going to come after him anymore. He's had enough of me coming after him for this. It's not his fault. If you people try to get this out of him, and you do, I'm coming after you first. Now, Paul, I'll come after you, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to come after everyone else first. So, y'all
actually got to
don't do that to my guy.
On a couple small things.
I know. I'm just teasing with y'all. I'm playing. I'm being dead serious, but I'm just being playful. I'll come after you.
I just love the fact that he realizes that right after that he shouldn't have said something that he said. He's like, God damn it. And he tries to change the subject.
He texts me and he's like, "Oh my God, man, I just said something. I just want you to know before you find out." And then you come to me and I'm like, "It's all good, buddy. It's all
On
good."
one of those leaks, I'm not going to say what it was, but one of those leaks where we're talking to him, I immediately said, Cody's angry.
I have a radar, y'all. I have this weird like leak radar. It's like if it happens, I'm like, "Uh-oh." I wake up from a dead sleep and I'm like, "Uh-oh, something's going on. Somebody said something that they didn't mean to say. Where are they?" And then I call Nicola, and there we go.
Too funny. Kuzo, how you doing, man? Love the PFP. That looks like a rare one. How you doing, man?
Appreciate it. Just thank you guys for everything you guys are doing, the hard work and everything. I just had a quick question about lowering the taxes for EverGrow. I mean, do you think that kind of devalued it a little bit? Because, I mean, at one point, Sam was talking about giving us, out of the percentage, giving us actually more, because I know he wants to kind of put us, I guess, like LunaSky and Atlas is kind of going to be on its own. And isn't it better to have the higher tax, because that was the whole point of Lucro? And also, isn't it better to have less people that own EverGrow because more rewards for the people that are in it?
That's a
It's a
tough.
double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it make the token less valuable to have lower tax? No, not at all, because the whole purpose is to increase the volume, right? Which you saw the moment that happened, the volume did increase, right? And then of course you have revenue being brought in from utilities. So it's all strategic ahead of time to be done this way, right? And the utilities come out and they're generating revenue, and then you have things involved with that too, like Lucro, et cetera. Having a lower tax is going to be better because that also allows us to be open to other aspects of the market that you're not open to when you have a higher tax. A lot of companies don't want to work with you if you have a super high tax as a crypto. They just don't. That's just the way it is, And in today's world of, let's say, tokenomic tokens, that kind of thing has passed. We talked about this earlier. It's not, like Steve said, 2020 anymore, 2021. The age of tokenomics is not the same as it once was, so you have to adapt to that. So no, lowering the tax does not devalue the token. If anything, it's a strategic move, and that's the purpose he's done it, to set us up for going forward. So,
Gotcha. Okay. Well, since I guess if we do like lower tax, are we ever going to try to go on to a like maybe try to be on like a centralized exchange if we're going to have a little bit lower tax on EverGrow, or no?
That's a tough question. I want to.
Because I just feel like I've been here since pre-sale, and I just feel like from the beginning people were just, I don't know, just out to get this coin or this project, and I just feel like they keep coming.
It's the tax, right? Here's the reality. Even if the tax is 1%, even if the tax was 0.5%, there's still a tax, and most exchanges have a real big problem with that. It is, at the end of the day, it is a very big barrier to listings at the end of the day. And like Cody said, this ain't 2020, this ain't 2021 anymore, and it ain't 2022 anymore. And the whole tokenomics idea has come and gone. We could either, recognize that fact, or we can, lament this forever. I think we have to recognize it and evolve going forward. And one thing to note, I was also talking yesterday with somebody else, and we actually started discussing the idea that as EverGrow evolves, as utilities get released and we start making, profits from utilities 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future, someone said the possibility of EverGrow actually fully transitioning from a tax token to a no tax token, like fully transitioning, 0% tax. And immediately that, angered a lot of folks. Immediately. We're talking about that. I'm not angered by that. I'm not angered by it. If that's what the future holds, and if that's where the success of EverGrow is, then I am 100%, 100,000% okay with transitioning to a no tax token, completely abandoning that. Because what I care about at the end of the day is the success of EverGrow, the community, and its all holders. And if that success has to abandon tax and the success just comes from the price alone, then it is the price alone. I don't care how we achieve that success or and what method the holders benefit in, as long as they benefit. So even though we got a lot of hate for that conversation, I am not against it at all. If that's what it takes for the project to be successful and the holders to make money, then that's what it is. I'm fine with it.
And keep in mind too, sorry, Cuzo, if you wanted to follow up with that.
No. I just wanted to also get tell you guys, we appreciate everything you guys are doing and all the hard work you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are amazing. You really are. And that's why I do these spaces, and that's why we listen, and we want to support you in every way possible, and answer the hard questions. Sometimes they're not easy, right? And sometimes we don't even know the answer to those questions, but we're trying, right? But I want to kind of say one thing is that when the tax was lowered, and any decision that I've seen so far, like whether it be buying out a whale, or whether it would be over-the-counter sale, or the 9 trillion burn, or in this case, the lowering of the tax, how the market responds tells you a lot. The OTC sale was an enormous success. 5 days, I think it was, and all was sold. All the money was recouped. That was a brilliant move.
That was insane.
Yeah, 12 trillion was saved for staking. So now it's a bonus, right? Is we're not having to rob Peter to pay Paul. We have our own tokens that are basically free. And 9 trillion was burned, all basically by taking out one whale. Lowering the tax, we brought a whole new bunch of people into the space. We increased rewards and increased volume. When people say, okay, well, the volume's coming down, this is a normal ebb and flow, I think, of these decisions. People, are obviously getting in, they realize a good deal when they see it, right? Will this 5% last? I really don't know. I mean, kind of like Cody was saying, you have to 2021 was the year of taxable tokens. Is that really going to work? And I mean, I know Sam had talked that, hey, let's just say we have 1 million holders. Would we do our own blockchain? He said it's not beyond the realm of possibilities, but to have 1 million active users, that would be the very minimum. So he's thinking long term down the road. And so far, I've pressed on my hand, 3 of 3 decisions have been really good decisions, and they worked out really good for us. So would we go to 1%, 0%? I don't know. Maybe if the utilities are so successful that they're generating the revenue and we don't need the tax anymore. That's a possibility.
That's a possibility. The second that happens, Steve, do you think I care in what sense the holders get rewarded? If it's via reflections or profits, I don't care, as long as they get rewarded. If that's the what the future holds, if that's the most successful path, then I'm all on board. I don't understand why there's so much resistance to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think EverGrow was sold as a passive reward token, right? And that was the foundational elements of EverGrow. As long as we can keep to that kind of mantra and adapt if we need to, and if we need to move away from rewards in that traditional sense of a tax, and it makes sense, then yeah, obviously we got to do that, right? But obviously nobody's going to say no to a 305 if that rolls around, and then you have the opportunity to sell and make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. So it's kind of you get the volume, potentially the price is going to go up, you get the reflections. I don't know how it's all going to play out. I'll be honest, I really don't know.
Well, none of us do. This is all speculation at the end of the day. Take all of this with a grain of salt. But even the way that you can do it, can be somewhat gradual, right? Where you can move from 5%, which is what I think it should stay at. You can move to 4%. You can move to 3, to 2, to 1, to a half, to a quarter. Just be as gradual as you can. And by doing that, you bring more and more and more and more attention and more and more and more and more hype towards eventually reaching the no tax, if we're ever going to go that way. I'm not saying we are, but again, I'm not against it.
And you got to think of the reasons too. Like, why would a token project lower their tax, right? Some do it out of pure desperation. They realize that the end is in sight and they're just trying to make a little bit of money at the very before the very end, right? We're healthy, we've got money in the bank, we've got an enormous marketing wallet. There's really we're sitting on some cash. We don't really have to worry so much. And the utilities are on the kind of right on the edge of being released. So I think we're in the best position we could be in. Had the money been spent back in 2022, when before the market came down, I think we might be having a different discussion. But luckily, Sam was pretty resolute in this and said, no, let's hold off. I mean, Cody, you can speak to that probably better than any.
I think you both have nailed it right on the head. I mean, it all comes down to financial foresight. You know, again, it goes back to that original conversation from today about adapting over these short periods with what's going on in the market, the world, business, etc., so that we can evolve and have longevity going forward. So, yeah, I mean, to Moon's point, if that's what's going to be best for the company, that's what's going to be done. And it's not going to be done out of a desperation move or anything other or less than that it is what's absolutely best. The question is it or is it not? Well, we don't know yet. We still have yet to determine that because we are existing in the market and the world we're existing in here and now. So here and now, the best thing to do is go down to the tax we're at, right? We'll see how it plays out going forward.
I think that's a great spot to end it because you just can't say it any better than that. Really, we just gotta wait and see. Hopefully, we're kind of really neat. Rocket just sent a message. I'm currently being mauled by children. That's why you can't come on. We wish you well, man. We wish you well. But yeah, we're on the kind of the edge of releasing at least one utility very quickly, and it seems to me like it's going to be a 1, 2, 3 scenario. And I'm just hoping that we're going to see some real good traction with this marketing, and time will tell. But I'm super optimistic, and you guys should be too. Just my opinion, of course. But
100%, I'm right there with you. You know, super optimistic. For anybody joining kind of late, the way I personally see it playing out, and grain of salt with this, of course, not a finite expectation, but in the very, very near future, this is how I see it happening. LunaSky is going to come out, staking is going to come out, Atlas Wallet is going to come out, and it is going to be bang, bang, bang. Could Atlas and staking be in a different order? Possibly, but I'm fairly confident, 98% sure Luna is going to be out before either of those. We've already talked about it. I won't echo chamber it, as to why I think that, but yeah. And again, grain of salt, things happen, but that's where we're at.
And don't think we just sit here and just pat each other on the back and just say everything's nice and rosy. We criticize ourselves, we criticize each other, we criticize the project as much as possible as well, because that's how you learn, that's how you go forward. And since I'm mentioning that, I will give 2 criticisms to EverGrow right off the bat. So my 2 biggest criticisms have to do with the NFT giveaway. And it's not that I personally am bothered by it, but I've met a lot of people that are. So number 1, I believe the giveaway should have been done in a different way. I believe the giveaway should have been done. The Tesla should have been given out. The prize should have given out. The giveaway should have taken place, even with the LunaSky V1 situation, and then on LunaSky V2 have another giveaway, because as it stands right now, a lot of people come to me and go, "Oh, what happened to the giveaway? It's all scam." Blah, blah. It's not a scam, okay? I can understand where you're coming from. I can understand. It should have been done another way. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and most importantly, is the pricing of the EverGrow Men NFTs. Now, at $100 per NFT, that's not super expensive, but let's face it, it's not cheap either. And you could say, "Oh, but Moon, your NFTs are even more expensive than that," and that's true. I have NFTs in my collection that go from $5, less than $5, all the way to $1,000. I have NFTs that are $100. I have NFTs that are $300. I have NFTs that are $999. The difference is that when you go to buy my NFTs, you choose what you want. You choose if you want to buy the $1,000 NFT that is worth $1,000. You buy the $1,000 NFT. It's your choice. But when you have a lottery type of NFT, spending $100 for a very small chance of getting something good, in my eyes, is too high. If you would have the same NFTs, the same sale, but the price of that lottery, right, is, I don't know, let's say $14.99, $9.99, $19.99 per NFT. I guarantee you would have sold those things out and made more money doing it, and it would have been a huge success. I think the price for entry in it is too high. So those are my two criticisms.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's great feedback, and those are the kind of things that we want to hear from everyone. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, if this is something that we explore in the future, that's the kind of feedback that we'll certainly be discussing internally.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you being candid like that. iSavior, I've got time for one more question, and then I've got to run.
Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody.
You too.
Okay. I wanted to find out with the two utilities that is about to be released, will the gaming for Lucro be part of it on those utilities, or we have to wait after the Atlas wallet and LunaSky before that one come into play? That's the first question.
Hey, iSavior, good to hear from you, my friend. Man, always a pleasure. I can speak to that. Just to make sure I'm clear on your question, though. Are you asking roughly when gaming is going to come out? Would it be before Atlas Wallet or after? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking whether it will be the gaming will be after Atlas Wallet and LunaSky, or it would be together with it on the releases of this utility.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Absolutely. So we talked about this earlier today. I'll kind of reiterate that. So the way this is going to play out is going to be, and grain of salt with this, but again, I'm fairly confident just because obviously the build process and where everything's out. LunaSky, staking, Atlas Wallet, gaming. Okay. Could Atlas Wallet and staking kind of be in a different order? Possibly. Could gaming maybe be in those three in a different order? Possibly. I'll elaborate why briefly, and or why not. So the gaming scope of work proposal is still being negotiated. We've gone back and forth a couple of times with the contract, so we're just trying to solidify that. So that's not actually signed yet and started. We're still negotiating the contract. Atlas Wallet, of course, that contract was done a long, long time ago, and it's been in the build process for quite some time. Steve actually is part of the team testing along with several others in here. LunaSky is even closer, right? So LunaSky is going to be before any of those things. That I'm 99% sure of. I do think that the staking it's very possible for that to come out before Atlas Wallet because it's far less complex. It's a Solidity contract and it's one page on a website. That's all it is. That is currently in build too. The design is done and in build. The contract is done and in testing. So realistically, I do expect that as well to be before Atlas. There's a set time frame with that agreement as well, which is great. We talked about that earlier about making agreements with the companies we're working with for building these products. With staking, there was a set time frame to meet. It had to be done within this amount of time. If not, there were penalties, etc. So yeah, again, I expect it to be Luna, Atlas, and
Okay.
or staking, one of the two, then gaming. So now, last thing I'll say about the gaming, in case you missed this. Number one, this is not abstract. We're not talking about metaverse. We're talking about 1 to 2 very, very, very simple games that are not going to be developed from the ground up. They're just games that have already existed for many decades, ultimately. I don't want to elaborate on what they are, but you'll know when you see them like, oh, I've played this kind of game a million times. That it's just incorporated Lucro. So it will not be an extensive development process. It will be a very short build because ultimately we're not looking to start something fresh from the ground up. We're looking to take something that already exists and incorporate Lucro into it. So nothing too complicated, very simple, very user friendly, and and fun. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry if that was already discussed. This is a very long time. It's
Yeah,
my night, so I had
it's okay.
to
It's okay. I love
really
going back around
wake
too.
up to come back and meet her. I'm very happy because there's one question that I wanted to ask, which is this second one. Now, Sam made a certain statement about the last video interview that if we are thinking that these utilities is what the team is going to do and just stop like that, there is this like 30% of what we are about to see in the utility building process for this project. So I went back to Telegram. There's a point that I discussed. I said that okay, that there's how we can. I suggested something. Said, okay, is it possible that there will be a point that the tax will be returned to zero? Now, somebody said something, asked a question. Okay, if that this was a tax token and this, so I brought out a scenario and said, okay, there's what we call there's a possibility that there can be what we call a arbitrary contract. Let's assume 2-3 years now. EGC ecosystem has utilities that is up to like 6 to 7, based on what he said, that it is just 30% that what they have, that the team and the project have in mind. So let's assume we have like 6, 7, 8, close to 10 utilities that is generating a very serious revenue to feed the EverGrow ecosystem. So can't we deploy an arbitrary contract that takes these profits and redistribute to holders without having any tax again on the token in the longer run? And which is, it can be done, it's possible. I've worked on something, so that's what I was saying. So but people just jumped in and said, this is a tax token, without tax we can't pay. So but that is what I am looking at in the future, and I don't know how we want to expand it. So but can't it be done? Is it not possible?
Okay, I think I understand this question. Just to make sure I am clear, and for the community's sake too, I want to make sure they understand it. I'm going to reiterate what I've understood you're asking. And correct me if I'm wrong. You're asking, number one, once EverGrow has multiple revenue streams, 5, 6, 7 utilities, as you put it, is it possible to go to 0% tax and still generate rewards for holders as it was a tax token? Is that essentially what you're asking?
Yes.
I understand. Okay, so yeah, we kind of spoke about this just a little bit ago. We had actually a pretty in-depth conversation about it, which was really cool. Everybody had some great thoughts on it. Yeah, I mean, strategically, if this was to go below the tax it's on now, down to 0%, just like Moon said, I think he said it best. If that's what's going to be best for the project, then that's what's going to be best for the project. And simply saying that should tell you that there's going to be a way for you to still make money. Tax tokens, of course, generate revenue, right, which gets distributed to you as rewards. Without a tax, just like you encounter, people are thinking, well, how is that going to be possible? Well, there would be other ways that would happen regardless of a tax. What are those ways? Well, that's kind of what's up to debate. There could be several, So just on the surface, is it possible? Well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. So for let me just ask you these questions.
No, it's all good.
For the utility for the utility launch, is it possible for us to get at least LunaSky, which in the website has the highest percentage before ending of June? Is it possible?
Are you asking to get a little bit of heads up before it's released? Is that what you're asking?
I said whether we can get LunaSky released before the end of June.
Oh, before the end of June. I understand. So you're asking, is LunaSky going to be released before the end of
He
June? Is
wants a
that
hard
correct?
date, Cody. He wants a hard date.
You trying to
Come
get me?
on.
Hey, here's the deal. Like, for real talk, transparency. Do I personally think it's going to be before the end of June? Abso-freaking-lutely. Why? Because if it's not, I'm going to freak out. I'm just putting it that way. Um, Now, that's me being a little bit exaggerated, right? Do I really think it will be out before the end of June? Yes, I do. And I'm not afraid to say that right now. And I am one who is very, very careful about what I say and how I say it. You all know that about me. Yeah, so I absolutely think it's going to be out before the end of June. I am extremely confident in saying that. And that is all I'm going to say about it. And that's that.
And it looks like you got Rocket support too.
Rocket, I can speak for him on this, and I know I can. And he would agree with that 100%. Why? We're there every day. We have meetings every day about it with him. We're right at the end tying up some loose ends. And yeah, without going into the whole thing from earlier, yeah, I'm 100% confident iSavior that, and I say 100% confident it will be out before the end of June.
I will wait with him to that day because I would like to see how our community and a lot of people that are so skeptical
Yeah.
because about the project. You know one thing that I just found out from this thing is that maybe somebody at a certain point sold his bags and he can't enter again, and he will come into a tweet and react so. But I would love to see how it will be, because my own point is not, I just want to see the community reaction, people, and even around the Twitter, what it will be on that day. And I pray that I will be there and available to see what will happen.
I hate to break it to you. I've seen you fight the fight, and I really appreciate that you're passionate about EverGrow. But to be honest, you'll never satisfy them. You'll never will, because as soon as we do have a successful launch, it'll be something else. They'll criticize something else and something else. And they'll never be happy.
That's true. And I do just want to repeat something Steve said. iSavior, see you out there all the time, my man. Always promoting, always being positive, asking good, insightful questions. When you do have things you may not agree with, you do it in a healthy way. You debate. And I respect that a lot, and I like it. And those are the kind of things we love to hear from everybody. Just like with Moon's feedback. Moon's always very respectful. You know, if he doesn't agree with something, it's professional. And those are the ways to go about approaching, you know, us with those types of things. And so just want to thank you, man. Really appreciate you out there.
Rocket is like,
Moon, you know how I feel about you, so I'm not going to say anything.
yeah. No, Rocket is probably like taking his fifth right now. You are so dead once this space is over.
Yeah, he's like, Cody, I'm coming for you. It's going down. No, but yeah. I mean, great questions, you know. Steve's right. I mean, you're never going to satisfy those people. Don't try to satisfy them, you know.
You're just giving them airtime, unfortunately. If you respond, I hate to say it, but if you respond, then it just gives them credibility, and then there's another response and another response. And what happens to the algorithm when you reply to a reply to a reply? You're just giving it more weight.
That's right.
So,
you all ever notice how we don't reply a lot of times to some of the less desirable ways to approach us? Let's say in a tweet comment. Like, I got no problem with being disagreed with. I got no problem with someone being just 100% against what we're doing. I only have a problem with the approach being disrespectful and unprofessional. If the approach is not that, I will entertain a healthy dialogue all day long. And a dialogue is an interaction back and forth between two people. A monologue is just some asshat talking down to you, you know, and we're not going to deal with that. And neither should any of you, you know. And there you go.
I think it's admirable that you guys want to defend, you know, Sam and the project and the team, and because you believe in it, and, you know, just like I believe in it. But just kind of be careful, because you know you can get drawn into these, and they love it. They really do. They just thrive on it.
Yeah, they can juice the battle, you know.
Yeah. So I hate to say it, guys, but I've got to run. I just want to give a really, really a big thank you, Cody. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. All you speakers that just came up, share your Saturday. Moon, Michael, Cuzo, thank you so much for dropping in. CWP, iSavior, Christopher Ichner. Kind of missing some names here. They dropped out. I was hoping to pick up Frank NFTs, but I think he had to run. Just want to say thank you to Rocket, Denny, Rick B, Nicola. Hope you're doing well, man. Joel M, EverGrow Creator, and of course, we got the Bard here, Jack of all trades. Will, Gracious, so good to see you, man. Alaska Moose Dog, Big B, Left Defense, and CJ Lockwood, Taxfan, and Rob, Crypto Profit. I'm glad you're not another crypto guy. And let's see here, Bokyo NFT, and my apologies if I butchered that, an Alien, and Brian EverGrow. Thanks for the thoughtful questions in the chat. I appreciate it. And Andy Trucks, Miko, as well as Dylan. Thank you so much for sharing your Saturday with us, and we'll see you next Saturday, same time, same place. If you got questions, by all means, just put them in the chat or DM me or whatever. I'm more than happy to help. And drop by and visit your favorite EGC fam over in Discord and Telegram if that'll help. Facebook too. You got good old EverGrow Dan out there fighting the fight as well. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you guys so much. Cody, thank you again. I really appreciate it, Moon.
Thank you, Steve, as always, hosting fantastic spaces, and always great to see all of you and hear from all of you. Love all of you, and keep an eye out for some more leaks. LunaSky leaks tonight. Check them out.
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Thank you for being here, Cody. You being here means a lot for the community. So
that is very humbling to hear, man. You being here means a lot to the community and to me, all of you. So thank you. I love all y'all. Have a great night. It's Saturday. Make a Bloody Mary.
Take care, guys. Bye for now.